allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call?
Supervisor Fisher?
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Lochran?
Here.
Trustee Aliaga?
Here.
Trustee Brown?
Here.
Trustee Nalamothu?
Here.
And Trustee Ritchie.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. And a special welcome to our professional firefighters this evening. Thanks for being here. You have in front of you the agenda for approval or modification, suggestion.
I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
We have a closed session item on the agenda tonight. I had a couple of comments on it. One of those items is to discuss employee benefits. And we had a closed session on this topic 2 weeks ago and received attorney-client communication related to that. For me, we always talk about transparency and to be discussing something in a closed session when, if you go to the actual agenda from that meeting and what was publicly available, I think it's very clear to anyone who read that exactly what we were doing in that closed session and what we were talking about. We were talking about the new retirement plan for the IAFF that was passed, and that there was a feeling we needed to pass that same benefit on to the rest of the other union, non-union employees, and the elected officials. And I don't believe that's something that we should be going into a closed session for, even if we're allowed to. I think that should be discussed in public so that we are transparent, and I would rather have that moved to the top of the agenda and we get that out of the way. In addition, for me, anytime we're going into closed session, that's a pretty significant thing to be discussing something out of the public view. I don't think it should be done at the end of meetings, especially if you're going to come out of one of those and take action, because you're much less likely to have people stay at the meeting for that length of time and then you're gone into a closed session at the end of a meeting and then come back. If there's any chance you're taking action, I feel that should happen first, and we used to do it that way. I understand we changed that. I prefer to have it back the way it was.
So just so that I understand, are you suggesting that we move or not go into closed session on that item and move it to the top now?
That
Or
part
move-
related to the employee benefits, yes.
Or move it to
Regular business.
like
Move
to
it to
item
the-
9 on
move-
regular business?
That would be.
It can be moved wherever, but that's fine, regular business.
So let me ask, since we do have a legal opinion, Dan, I know that you've written a confidential opinion for this, and so that may have a bearing.
Sure. Dan Kelly, Township Attorney. There are two legal opinions that are in the packet. I'm not sure whether the board wishes to go into closed session with regard to the employee benefits tonight, but that'd be by separate motion. The other motion is with regard to, as indicated on the agenda, the police operating millage. It's up to the board. If the board wanted to move it up to the beginning of the meeting, I mean, everybody's going to have to wait until we come back from closed session, so it's a decision by the board, but I think it would be by motion of the board.
Okay, so Paul, are you making a motion then?
Yes.
We can act on?
Yes. So I would make a motion to move that part of the closed session related to employee benefits onto the regular agenda.
So say it's item 9
Sure.
of the regular agenda.
And I'm fine with I'm fine with that other item remaining where it's at and at the end, so that everyone doesn't have to wait for the closed
Sure.
session.
Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion by the board?
I have a discussion item. You're requesting to move it to number 9? Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I would suggest that we then make that number 8 and bump down the other, because that's what the closed session is about. So if we're gonna do that.
That's perfect.
Sure.
Okay.
That's if it's approved, but it's gotta be.
Well, can I make one comment on that? That if there was a legal opinion that he wanted to give to us, that we should have it private, then we could still hear that in the closed session and come back and work on 8 and 9 both. If we start,
Yeah, I'm
Like
not
you
sure.
I think that's a good suggestion. But that still leaves this item on the regular agenda.
right, but I'm just saying if there's some opinion that we need to hear in private, I guess.
And we could discuss that. And would you have an objection to going into closed session just to make that decision?
And then come out and discuss 9.
I guess my opinion is that the legal opinions we're getting related to employee benefits don't need to be done in a closed session. I just think those should be public.
Well, generally speaking, confidential legal opinions are not discussed in public. And, I mean, they can be
Right.
if the board votes to disclose them.
Yeah, I think
The
there's an
board certainly
option.
has that authority to do.
Well,
Right, there's a little bit of middle ground there, which is, you don't necessarily have to go into closed session to discuss a legal opinion. If everybody has read the opinion, understands it, the purpose of the closed session is to answer any questions that the board has. Obviously, that's going to be by a vote of the board when it goes into closed session, whether or not you feel you need to go into that. So I think, again, that's for the board to decide. If it remains on the open agenda, the board can certainly have a discussion without disclosing the confidential portions of my opinion. So you could have it both ways, is my point.
final comment.
Yes, sir.
My greatest concern, and I discussed this, Mr. Supervisor, with you, and I certainly communicated to you that within 24 hours of the last closed session, comments I made in the closed session specific to me were shared with employees. And for me, that's kind of first of all, it's a legal problem because we violate the Open Meetings Act, whoever did it. I heard from 2 different employees, and something I said in that closed session was shared with people out of context, and certainly you understood how unhappy I was about that, Mr. Supervisor, that happened. So for me, I don't want to put a board member who might do something like that, force them to do it again. Let's talk about it in public. And then I don't have to worry about someone deciding they want to share what I say in a closed session. So I feel pretty strongly about it.
All right. My suggestion would be, since we are going to be coming back out on the police services millage in any event, is that that we go into closed session on both of the items, the police millage as well as the employee benefits. Take a look at the legal opinion on the employee benefits, and in any event, we could discuss that if everybody wants to or anybody wants to in closed session. And then we come out of closed session after discussing the police services and have a public discussion on the employee benefits.
I don't want to go into closed session and discuss the employee benefits.
No, it'd be discussing the legal opinion.
I'm okay, I've read it. I'm okay with that being public. I don't have any issues with that being public.
Well, it's a vote.
Yeah, we have
It's
to-
on the agenda, and there will be a vote when that time comes, and by
Yeah.
a majority
It
rules.
would be easier to make that decision in closed session, and then we could just vote to disclose it if anybody,
Well,
Well, we
with
don't
all
make
due respect,
decisions, yeah,
We
in
can't make a
closed.
decision in closed session.
Right.
well, everybody, you reach a consensus, that's perfectly satisfactory.
So I think that the way to resolve Trustee Brown's concerns is it'll have to be by vote when it comes up on the agenda, whether we go into closed session or not.
Well, yes, unless we arrange it now, that we'd go in and make the decision while we're in closed session to review the opinion.
Right. I think Trustee Brown's correct. We're not going to make a decision in closed session, but as you know, the purpose of closed session is to discuss the legal opinion and ask me any questions regarding
Right.
that opinion.
Right.
So depending upon whether a majority of the board needs that additional advice, we can discuss it at the time of the motion. Otherwise, it's already on the agenda and we would discuss it in open.
All right, so
Okay.
the way it's configured right now is that item number 8, which would be the employee benefits. And so we'd make take a vote at that point on whether to release your opinion or go into closed session to discuss that.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to reach that decision at this point, but,
Well, there's a pending motion's been made and seconded already.
no, we have to vote on that.
Okay.
And that's to change the agenda to make that number 8 and the other one dropping down to number 9.
Right. And then the board can make a motion at any time to go into closed session. So you could do that after 7, if that's the board's desire.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. All right. Any other discussion? I don't know if anybody in the public has any idea what the heck we're talking about or wants to talk about it, but you have a right to be heard. Seeing none, anybody online care to be heard? All right, so we've got a motion, just to clarify, to move the item that is on the agenda as presented to involving employee benefits to item number 8 on the regular agenda, open session, and move the request to approve resolution for fire services down to item number 9. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just one comment, it was police services, not fire services. For,
Police services.
right, you said fire service, just like, you know.
Oh, well, we have so many firemen here, I was influenced. Okay, so the agenda is now amended. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved as amended. Any board announcements? Any members of the public have an announcement? Anybody online have an announcement? Okay.
Excuse me, does that include just talking to you?
That's going to be the next one, that's a public comment.
Thank you.
Good clarification, thank you. Okay, so there are no announcements. Item number F is public comment, and so this would be an opportunity for people to speak for 5 minutes on a matter not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, then you can speak in connection with the agenda item when it comes up. But this would be an opportunity to speak on matters that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody who'd like to speak on that? Yes,
Yeah, I will.
please.
Can you come to the podium?
Go to the podium and please tell us what your name and address is.
Yeah, hi, my name is Isabel
Good evening.
Kuyala. I've been here several times with Mr. Kittle. He was a great help to me. I live on Pine Knob Road, a dirt road. My taxes are $3,000. We have nothing, a speed limit of 60 miles an hour, no stop signs, no speed signs, nothing. So that's why I'm here. I want to see what you guys have to say.
Anybody?
I have a
Terry?
comment. I believe at past meetings, it was told that weren't those the speed limits by the state for county
I
gravel?
don't know, I've
for
only been there 6 years.
Oh, county gravel roads are dictated by the state.
Well, that can't be changed in any way when we have children.
So yeah, I think some attempts have been made to change that legislatively because they've stopped local governments from having the right to do that. Those roads used to be, I think, 25 miles an hour. And this law.
25 miles an hour would be
Yeah.
great.
But the state changed things, and those gravel roads are all 50 or 55 now. If they're unposted, they're 50, 55. And
Right.
there have been efforts to change that, and I'm happy to get back with you
Yeah.
and get that information back out and find out what it was.
Yeah,
but
because somebody's got to do something before a child gets
I
killed.
could probably have somebody come right to the podium and talk about it, but
Good,
Yeah,
they feel like it.
Anybody else?
yeah, I will. I do believe that the most efficient way is if you can talk to directly with Mike Harris. He's our state representative. He will be the one who can help you right away because he's representing Independence Township, and he can do something about it. He can present a bill and discuss the bill in Lansing because
Yeah, because this has been going on for years and years and years and years. I've only been there 6 years, but I've heard from everybody what went on.
Sure.
And you know, when a child gets killed, it's not going to be the person that hit him. It's going to be you guys because you don't do something about it.
Well, just so that you understand, that we don't have any authority to do anything about it directly. And I believe that there was a bill that passed the legislature maybe 4 or 5 years ago that established a process by which a study could be done by the road commission to analyze what the speed limit should be on the road.
Exactly, and we've had the road commission out several times, but nothing's happening. So do we have to shut down the road on Pine Knob? Because we will.
Well, thank you
I'm
for
sorry, but you know what? That's the way it goes.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah. Is that it?
We
Okay.
really, that's pretty much what we could do. We can contact the road commission again
Yeah, you do that.
and to see if we can make a difference in that regard.
Right. Okay. I'm still gonna
Jerry,
say it
just
is.
one suggestion, maybe it's a way that you can talk to the sheriff department, maybe a deputy can be in a certain time, that maybe it's, because sometimes it's a rush hour when there's a lot of.
Yeah, Mr. Kittle was taking care of a lot of things for me.
Good. Good to hear. Comment in the back.
There you go. We had him come in just for you, Isabel.
Told you we could get somebody to the podium who could say something.
You're the devil.
Hi, Isabel, it's good seeing you
Yeah.
again. Pat Kittle, 4647 Oakhurst Ridge Road, Honorable Chairperson. Prior to my departure in September, we did have a committee put together with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, the Road Commission of Oakland County, members of this community, Orion, and several other townships in the north to evaluate what could be done in Oakland County or communities over 1 million people to try to get local control given back to the local units of government. I don't think Representative Harris would be able to do much of anything as he has no control over that. This is something between Michigan State Police and the Road Commission that's going to have to be resolved. I don't know what happened to that standing committee upon my departure, but I do know that there were multiple speed studies done, crash test studies, and other things to see what could be done besides lowering it to what we could do to lower it from the unposted 55 down to 45. I don't think 45 is going to address Isabel's concern or a lot of other concerns on dirt roads because like any other neighborhood, the dirt roads in our community, the houses are tight. The road has a lot of blind curves, hills, and intersections, and it's a mess. I will agree with Isabel, it is a safety hazard, and there were people working on it. I do not know the status of it, so it might be worth the while to Gary Petrowitz to see what could be done to resurrect that committee again. Lieutenant Hill, who was our prior substation commander, Todd Hill, was also very active on that as well, sir. Just a bit of advice.
Mr. Kittle, nice to have you here.
It's good to see you, sir.
Thanks, Pat.
Any other comments? Public comments, okay. Hearing none. Any comments online? Public comments? Okay, seeing none. Now we are going to turn to something very positive, and I'm going to ask Chief Pichet to come forward, who has an important presentation to make.
Frankie, there yours. Frankie right here. All right.
All righty. Good evening, and thank you to all the elected officials, firefighters, and family, and friends that are here tonight to honor and support the promotion of firefighter Frankie Cruz to shift lieutenant. The promotion of a firefighter to that of an officer is a great moment of honor and pride for both the firefighter, their family, and the Independence Fire. Tonight's promotional ceremony here at Township Hall during a board meeting marks a first for Independence Fire Department. It begins a new era of tradition for everyone to be proud of. Again, thank you to all the elected officials for allowing this event to happen. I would like to briefly share with everyone what it takes to become an officer for IFD. Interested officer candidates must endure a competitive testing process that includes a written exam, oral interviews, conducted by outside fire service professionals, a board of review process that measures and grades each candidate based on their level of formal education, training and certifications, performance evaluations and work history, discipline and attendance history, and finally, the candidate is reviewed by the fire chief, myself, for their overall capacity and readiness to be promoted to the officer level. The candidate is then placed onto a promotional eligibility list in a descending order, the highest point earner to the lowest, based on their overall cumulative testing scores. I'm proud to say that Frankie Cruz came out number 1 and had the highest score in his testing class. Once selected and promoted from the eligibility list, the new probationary officer must serve a 6-month probationary period to ensure their performance will meet the needs of the position. It's during this time the new officer is coached and developed to perform to the high level expected of an IFD officer. The probationary officer will be required to satisfy several core competencies during the probationary period, such as the ability to lead, supervise, and command a unit of firefighter paramedics, the ability to promote and demand the safe execution of all fire and EMS operations for all our personnel and the public, the ability to inspire and teach advanced fire EMS trainings to our personnel, the ability to perform and promote excellent customer service to all who we serve in the community, be able to demonstrate excellent decision-making abilities both in emergencies and non-emergencies, and finally, the probationary officer must demonstrate their ability to promote and operate within the team concept and ensure the vision and goals of the fire department are being met every day. Okay, now a little fun stuff about Frankie. A little information about Frankie. Word? A little. Okay. No, don't be. It's all good. Frankie has served as a firefighter paramedic over the past 10 years for Independence Fire. He not only works for IFD, but he also resides in the community with his wife and beautiful children too. Frankie is a highly skilled paramedic, firefighter paramedic that spends many hours sharing his knowledge and experiences, mentoring and training other employees. He is highly respected by his peers, and his dedication to provide a high level of service to the residents of Independence Township is above and beyond. Frankie also holds himself to a high standard as a paramedic, always providing compassionate and dedicated EMS care to those in need, and known to be an assertive, skilled firefighter battling fires and performing technical rescues when called upon. A quick snapshot of his career achievements thus far. He assisted in the development of a pediatric medication administration program which helps safeguard pediatric care as it relates to the accurate dosage of medication. He's a highly skilled and active member of MABUS 3201 Regional Tech Rescue Team. The team is trained and certified in rope rescue, trench rescue, confined space rescue, structural collapse rescue, and missing persons wide area search rescue. Frankie's involved with all that. He was chosen to be the lead instructor for the rapid intervention team training for our fire department. He has also been involved with the development and execution of numerous other department trainings to enhance and ensure all fire personnel are ready and prepared to serve the community. He currently serves as a president of the Independence Professional Firefighters Association. He serves on the IFD Customer and Outreach Service Committee and Tech Rescue Committees. He is state certified in the following: as a paramedic, Fire Officer 1 and 2, Tech Rescue, and Fire Instructor. So as you see, Frankie's been very active and involved throughout his career in preparation to be an officer for IFD. And he has set the bar high, not only for himself, but for others to follow. But most importantly, when selecting potential candidates for promotion to an officer in IFD, we require that they must come in with a great work ethic, have demonstrated a career of great character and integrity, and have conducted themselves in a manner to have established exceptional credibility amongst their peers. With that, I can proudly say that firefighter Frankie Cruz has successfully met all these expectations and is most deserving of being promoted and sworn in officially to shift lieutenant with IFD this evening. And as part of our presentation tonight, Captain Bridgewater will present Frankie with his new lieutenant badge. Might be a bad omen, I guess. Also part of Frankie's promotion is the presentation of his lieutenant's helmet by Lieutenant Moskovic.
So it's a great honor for me to be able to present this to Frankie Cruz. The fire service has a lot of traditions in it, and one of the great ones is changing color of a helmet. A fireman comes in young, they get his black helmet, and they get promoted as lieutenant, it becomes yellow, then captains are red, and ultimately the chief is white. But the more important thing about a colored helmet on scene is that the fireman can look up quickly and look for direction and leadership and guidance. And I can't think of anybody better than Frankie Cruz to be honest. Congratulations.
And to conclude, Carrie Newbeck will swear in Frankie to his new position of officer in IFD.
Solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I'll faithfully discharge the duties
and I'll faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Shift Lieutenant
of the office of Shift Lieutenant
in and for the Township of Independence,
and for the Township of Independence,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
and State of Michigan,
and State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Frankie, excuse me, Lieutenant Cruz, would you care to introduce your family?
Here, come over here.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm really excited for this day. Look forward to the challenges that are coming up, but I couldn't have been here without my wife, Megan. Two kids right there, Braden and Ava. She helps me out all the time, very supportive. And the rest of my family, friends, and all my other firefighters I work with daily. I just want to say thanks to all of you for all the support, friendship, guidance, and help. You've been there to help me out. Appreciate it. I look forward to everything to come.
Great. Does anybody want to take pictures?
Chief, do you want
while
to
he's
take
here?
pictures up in front of the podium?
Come and take pictures.
You can recess for me.
Sure. Let's see how many.
You got the other, want the rest of the firefighters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we stay in session?
Oh, they are.
Yeah. We're gonna have them all come up.
All the firefighters could please come up front here and line up. We'll do a group picture.
Yeah, come on.
Y'all are brothers.
Yep. Thank you again to the whole township board for allowing that to happen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can just quickly say that I got to know Frankie during the fire negotiations, and obviously the township supervisor doesn't make a decision on this promotion, but I would endorse it 100%. I've never seen anybody more dedicated and, honorable. So,
Absolutely.
good job.
Yep, no, thank you. Well deserved.
Okay. Hard to move on to something so mundane after that glorious procedure. But we now have the consent agenda with 3 items on it. We have approval of the minutes of July 5, 2022. We have approval of July 12, 2022 check run, $137,796.18. And to ratify the July 8, 2022 payroll in the amount of $390,603.30. And item number 3 would be a request to approve non-corporate resolution presented by the treasurer. Is there a motion to approve or to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. That takes us to the regular agenda, and standing tall at the podium already in anticipation of item number 1 is the amendment to the planned unit development of Walden Village 2.
2, that's correct. I think I'm trying to get the actual drawing on the television screen for you, so it's a little easier to go through this, because I want to just refresh everyone's memory on the multiple phases that this project has endured, and we're going through currently. So this project was approved in 2021, and just to remind everyone, this is a 5-phase project. Phase 1, which is the tan color at the bottom of the drawing, that's the single-family residential, consisting of, it's under construction. And Phase 2 is actually the tan color. Phase 1 is the condominiums that are more of a dark brown. And that's 132 units there. 48 along Walters Road, which is the bottom of the drawing. That's technically phase 2. Those are the single-family homes. There's a model up right now. And for the condominiums, there's a model underway, under construction. Phase 3 is 10 acres of commercial. That's kind of on the east side, or the right side of the drawing. That's consisting of the market, restaurant, commercial, office, and commercial. Phase 4 is 78 single-family dwellings. Those are yellow in color. They're very similar to Pine Vista in terms of the style of the home. And then obviously Phase 5 is the last portion of the project, which is the open space, the private park. So we got a request from the petitioner to go forward with Phase 4 at this point in time. So that consists of, the Planning Commission has an option of considering that a minor or major amendment A minor amendment is classified as a change in phase. That's what this is. There's no change in density, no change in really location. I mean, very, very minor changes in the location of those yellow units that you see on the screen. So it was decided by the Planning Commission that this was a minor amendment, and so there will need to be some minor adjustments to the legal documents that go with this. There are discussions ongoing with the users of Phase 3, but they weren't quite ready to submit their site plans yet, so that's why we're going forward with Phase 4. Again, this is, there's really no material change to this site plan. It's still the same 78 units. Pulte will be the contractor to do this work. And I just want to point out that the first step of this was to go to the Planning Commission, which they did. And because there was an amendment to the PUD, we still went through a public notice and a public hearing, and then it was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission at that meeting. Mr. Carlisle is here. Also, members of the petitioner's team are here, and also Mr. Silverman's on the call. And Mr. Carlisle did an updated report for this meeting that he can go through for you. So hopefully we can get back to teams.
Mr. Carlisle.
Here we go.
We can't hear you.
Unmute yourself.
You're muted, Dick.
He says, I'm trying.
He's probably muted remotely. ITV guys.
Well, I can certainly go through Dick's report if we can't get the technical issues straightened out. All right, I'll just go through it. There was very, very minor items that need to be addressed on the site plan that was submitted in your packet this evening. Essentially, there's just some minor parking calculation adjustments that need to be made in terms of how parking is going to be delineated. They're going to use their driveways and garages. There's been some landscape items that were noted too between the current Phase 1 and Phase 4. That's going to be adjusted in time for second reading. And one item that we wanted to note is decks are always a major issue with these PUDs. So decks will have to be provided for each unit, and we want to make sure that there's a condition on this put into the legal documents about these not exceeding 3-bedroom condos. So it was very, 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 very minor issues. Again, I just want to point out this was approved unanimously by the Planning Commission. There was pretty minor issues that they identified, which essentially Mr. Carlisle had also identified. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Mr. Silverman, who is online, or his team can also answer any questions you may have.
He's muted too, I see.
Oh,
ITV is working on trying
I
to.
don't
Yeah,
think Dick's muted.
they've been working on it since the meeting started.
Well, maybe the mute is gone, so maybe they can speak now.
No.
Mr. Ottman, can you
Oh,
hear me?
I hear you very, very low.
Your hand. Okay.
Just need to turn up his volume, please.
Can you turn up the volume?
Try again.
How's
Dick.
that?
A little better.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, board members. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Sorry I cannot be there tonight.
Anybody questions? Ron?
Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, Dick. I have a couple questions. On your report, you mentioned that there was nothing about lighting. With that being backed up to the commercial, I think it would be important that there's some lighting established, maybe even with the main road. That's not been indicated. I think that should be something that should be looked at.
We will do that.
Another comment, positive comment, I did want to say I was appreciative to see that the evergreens for the buffer were increased from 6 to 8 foot. Thought that was nice. I appreciated that. And something else, I know that the Planning Commission discussed it, but it's still not clear to me. So I wanted to talk about the roads and the parking, the additional parking. Is that marked on the street itself, or is it off the street on the side?
There will be, within this phase, the parking will be on street as is in other phases. I mean, obviously there will be parking in the driveways and in the garages, but we also wanted to clarify that there will be areas where there will be on-street parking on one side. When this occurs in developments like this, we work very closely with the fire department to make sure there's parking, usually one side only, so that we don't, don't impede any fire vehicle access. So that is what that means.
So that would be opposite of the fire hydrants then, I would
Yes.
say. So then,
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about snow and the snow removal. If there's cars parked in the street when people have company over, because you said there's there's enough for 2 parking in the driveway and 2 in the garage, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'm just wondering, did the fire department look at that as well, or somebody else with fire vehicles going through with parking in the street? And then snow plowing. I know that there really isn't a designated area for the snow. I'm just wondering how the road commission can adequately possibly have to clean around cars parked in the driveway, because most residential, you're in your driveway, not in the street.
Correct. Well, at this point, we are still, whether the road becomes accepted as a public road remains to be in question now that, the overall design has been changed. And snow removal would be an association responsibility if it remains a private road. However, that's usually something that we will address in the condominium documents in terms of snow removal. Even obviously, I think board members are probably aware, even in residential developments where they are actually condominiums, the condominium associations do their own snow removal anyway. So there was some discussion of this at the Planning Commission meeting, and what we can ask is that for Pulte to provide a response to this in terms of snow removal prior to the second reading, if that would be acceptable to the board.
Okay, at what point will a decision be made if the road is public or private then, before the second reading?
We can certainly discuss that. It's, right now, it is private until it's requested to be public. And I think perhaps the way that this is now, coming, when the project actually changed, I think in all likelihood, the road's going to be private. And all the maintenance issues will have to be covered in the condominium documents and the development agreement. So we can have a definitive response to the board about that before second reading.
Okay. I just wondered if it's decided that it's public and we move, or it's private and we at some point go forward to change it public, does that change the PUD documents? Is that considered an
No,
amendment?
actually, no, and as a matter of fact, we're dealing with this right now in another circumstances. Some board members may be aware, and really what we don't want to do is try to convert a private road to public, because it gets to be real complicated down the road. So it is designed and built to public road specifications. However, with the amount of extensive commercial frontage now, and the fact that the road is actually not going to have any, it's basically going to, and there's no public property which it is going to access, which was really what one of the reasons is to try to have it be a public road, because we thought perhaps at one point in time we'd have a 15-acre public park back there. Then that issue becomes a little bit of moot, because really whether the road commission would accept it as a public road when it has such limited public utility or access for them. So we'll get that completely resolved before second reading.
Okay, that's all I have.
Ron?
Thank you.
Just to piggyback off what Carrie just said, the fact that it was gonna be a public road was part of the public amenities that they were putting into the project, that we would get as part of the return for the density and everything that was part of the package. So to me, if it's not gonna be a public road, it's a taking of our, what we awarded them as the public amenity to get the density that they got. So just to let you know, that's my opinion of that loss. So.
Dick, did you have a response to that?
Well, I guess the board would have to make a decision about that. I mean, that was based on a project that had a 15-acre public park too. That the board and board members approved the revision of this plan to what it is right now. What is the amenity of a public road that serves a private development at this point? What is that benefit? If it was to be
would help benefit the residents of that area. So.
If I could just finish,
Sure.
One of the major reasons why that road was to be public is it was to serve a 15-acre public park, for which the township was to apply for a grant and was not successful to pay for 50% of the cost of that park. Once that went away, what other circumstances do we have? We have private roads throughout the township that are in PUDs.
Well, maybe I could present the question in a different way. If you have a private road, is that diminishing any benefit?
In my opinion, no, because it doesn't put the public at risk for maintaining it, other than the fact that we will have to monitor the PUD agreements to ensure and make sure that the maintenance agreements that we put in place are followed. But we have many large projects, large planned unit development projects in the township that are private roads that are maintained by the association. So I guess the board will have to make that, but how that is an overwhelming public benefit that serves no public property is a little bit different than Walden Road going to the south, which is a complete loop road that serves all of the interior development with numerous different properties down through there. And having that as a public road made absolute sense, but it made sense when we were going to have a park back there. But I think to not have it be a public road really is no liability to the township or to the public or to the road commission for a road that will probably receive minimal maintenance from the road commission.
Ron or Brian, did this come up at the planning commission, this issue?
Not about the road. I guess the changing of the benefit, the community benefit, came up quite a bit. I guess just to elaborate, I'll go back a little bit farther than what Mr. Ottman stated. Basically, it was originally voted that this was a major amendment, not for phasing, but for the effect of the character of this development. Phase, the phase for the commercial market and offices was always presented as being a, I'm going to say Nino Savaggio in quotes, but that type of market. And obviously, if we let phase 4 go ahead of phase 3, we don't know what we're going to get or ever get for the market. So one of the things, there was a second vote taken after it was voted a major amendment to rescind that vote, which I wasn't at that meeting. So the vote got rescinded and revoted as a minor amendment. And they phrased it as because of phasing is a minor item. And in my objection at the previous meeting was that it's a major because if we don't get the market as always discussed and presented, that affects the whole development. That was the major crux of the whole development, was what that market was going to be. And so basically, in a way, you lose all your leverage if you let phase 4 go before phase 3. You never know if we're even going to get phase 3. So there was a lot of words said, and what I don't see tonight, there was going to be words put in a document that stated that what kind of market we were going to get. Obviously, if it's not going to be Nino Savaggio, we wanted those type of amenities in the market, and how can we document those to make sure that's what we get in the market? And that's nowhere in any of these documents tonight. So,
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and review the permit conditions, all of the amenities were listed for phase 3. That includes the large patio space. All of that was included in the permit conditions that were approved by the township board. So that when we are having these discussions and meetings with the users of phase 3, they're made aware, and they also already know that those amenities are required. Otherwise, there's no point in them even submitting anything. And actually, the users that we've had discussions with are very excited about that space and are looking forward to using it, because it's a great space to use for the public. And also, it's going to benefit the market that's there.
What is the description? I assume there is a description of the character of the market that goes there.
Yes, and it's, I believe, Mr. Carlisle, correct me if I'm wrong, was it, it just says market/grocery? It's, or high-end, not even high-end, it's very generic.
Yeah, well, it's been characterized, in a whole variety of different ways anecdotally, but the language in the document speaks for itself. It was defined by the size, and it's essentially the indoor and the outdoor space, and the area in which, and even an argument was made that why should we approve phase 4 because phase 3 may need more parking. Well, that was exactly the opposite of what we were trying to do. We do not want a large-scale market on that property that needs more parking to encroach in the residential. And it was incredulous that that argument had been made that we need to preserve more area for parking for this particular commercial floor. If board members will remember, where we are right now was a result of a hard-fought battle to prevent a Walmart from coming into Independence Township. And the zoning on this property is, as you see it, could have been as of right. As of right in terms of the amount of commercial, office service, and multiple family development. And obviously the township took a bit of a risk in preemptively rezoning that property to avoid litigation. And here we are now, we have a project that is what we thought we would like to have 10, 15 years ago, to avoid a Walmart, and here we are, and people are questioning the nature of a 40,000 or 50,000 square foot market.
Well, and keep in mind also, the permit conditions outline timing indicators for when these additional phases have to be submitted. So this cannot go into time for the next 10, 15 years and have nothing there. I mean, Mr. Silverman has committed, as his attorney did with our attorney, negotiated a time period of a few years that he's got to submit these drawings, and he's willing, by doing phase 4, he's going to be committing to doing the road improvements on Walden Road. So that's considered a separate thing called phase 2 of the Walden Road improvements. He's going to have to construct those in order to have access to phase 4. So in essence, he's putting in the infrastructure now for phase 3.
At a great deal of expense.
Which is what he agreed to get the density that he got, so.
Well, it's obvious, and so what is the leverage that the board is seeking then?
We want to know what kind of market is going to go there.
Well, you're going to find out because you're a member of the Planning Commission, and as a township board member, you're going to approve that final site plan for phase 3, just as you have had the ability to approve and to see and approve every aspect of this development, which has been approved and was approved by the Planning Commission unanimously, which included your vote to bring this before the township board.
Paul?
Yes, sir. So I appreciate the comments, and to speak to Dick's comment that people are questioning it. As members of the board, we have the public questioning us, and so it is our job to question it. And I don't think it should be looked at as somehow unusual or strange that we're questioning it. That's our job, representing the public. And I have heard significant concerns about what market's going to end up there. And so as a board member, I listened to the public on that because I certainly understood what I thought was going to go there. And so as a board member, I've got a right to make a decision based on my concerns and the concerns of my constituents. So I don't like moving forward with phase 4 till we lock down what's going to happen in phase 3. Because we're not being provided that information, we're just being told it's close. Well, if it's close, it shouldn't matter that we wait until we find out what it is. So I'm somewhat with Mr. Ritchie on this, and
I guess the question I have, trying to understand this, is what is it that there will be a benefit to the township by waiting?
I agree with Mr. Ritchie's comments. If we approve 4 now, move forward, we lose leverage in the plan.
The leverage is in the PUD documents.
But how can we force the developer, even though he has agreed in the PUD document to do this? Has he bonded for the construction of that building? I mean,
not for that building, no, but he's bonded for every other phase.
What makes the rest of this happen?
He's already has construction bonds for both the phases under construction. When he goes to do construction on phase 3, he will also have a bond put in place for that.
But I don't understand what the leverage will get us. Maybe, Ron, you can clarify that. What are we going to get from the leverage?
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is if you heard Mr. Ottman say that it's vaguely written because they always verbally called it Nino Savaggio, that style of market. So that was what.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, this is Buzz Silverman, and I'm sorry to interrupt. But if I could say just a couple of words to the trustees, Mr. Chairman.
Please do. Mr. Ritchie has agreed to allow this.
Thank you, Trustee Ritchie. So as all of you know, I've been working in Independence Township for 3 decades. So the reputation that we've earned over the 3 decades it is something we're very proud of. And we have worked very closely over the last 2 years. And I want to thank the trustees, Mr. Chairman, tonight for the time in going through this. And these are important questions. And the Planning Commission as well, and staff, and members of the public. Because we're all on the same team looking for the same outcome. To answer your question about the quality of the market that's already in the recorded PUD documents that were heavily negotiated with the Planning Commission and your board that are recorded, it does call for I believe, a high quality grocery with a huge amount of outdoor patio space. And candidly, to build a grocery today, you're talking like $20 million. So there's no amateurs and there's no average folks that are in the business that are willing to entertain doing a grocery here. And we are under contract, and this can be public information. We are under contract on 100% of the property in phase 3. Not only the market, but the balance of the commercial as well. And we are working that through the normal process that we always do in preliminary pre-application meetings, etc. We're excited about the uses. And by going forward in phase 3, the infrastructure, the roads, which I thought there was a very good conversation on, that we're building our roads to public road standards, which is your township's ordinance. We can't control if the road commission will accept a road for dedication as public. And as a result, we can't represent that 100% will be public, but we have agreed right up front that we would do whatever is in our control for that road to be public, yet we are not in control of the road commission. So at any rate, as we proceed with the market, rest assured that we have been very candid, very straightforward on the previous market discussions. And we know that people have preferences where they shop, but we believe that the market that we're talking to is a really big deal, and will be something that we'll all be proud of. So I appreciate the time to speak tonight, and as always, I want to thank the township for the great job they do.
Thank you, Mr. Silverman. Ron, back to you.
All right. Basically, I guess I want Mr. Silverman to know that I'm not trying to personally attack him. I'm just voicing my opinion about the project. He's, like I say, there's been many months, if not years now, gone into this this design and many public meetings and everything. So I mean, I'm not opposed to the project on a whole. I just want to make sure we get what we wanted to, because the township gave up. I don't want to say gave up. We traded density for some amenities, and obviously the improvement to Walden Boulevard with the widening and right turn lanes and the way the streets are situated, so we could put stop lights and that type of stuff in there. That was all part of the give and take of creating the PUD. So Mr. Silverman and his team have put a lot of work in to do that. So I guess I'm arguing, just like Mr. Brown said, that I've had a lot of public beat me up about we gave away a lot. Are we going to get what we said we were going to get? And I guess what scares me is that I'll listen to Mr. Ottman say how it's vaguely written and there's not a lot of stuff there. Tonight is the night to get everything written down, what we're going to get in the market. And that's not, they said that they would have those amenities, what we're going to get. They talk about the patio. I guess I'm talking about the other things that, because we use Nino Savaggio as the model. So we want Nino Savaggio amenities in whatever the market that comes there. It doesn't, I guess I agree that we can't control who it is. I'm not saying it has to be Nino Savaggio, but that's the type and the scale of what we're looking for in the market. and tonight's the night to get those in writing, so.
Well, the number in the permit conditions is 17,000 square feet of patio space.
Well, that's fine, that covers the patio.
But that's the amenities that a grocer puts in nowadays. That's it's comparable to that user.
All right.
So we can't name users, as you said.
Right.
So
I have a comment. I don't think they're looking for the outside. We're looking for what's gonna be on the inside. A patio doesn't, that's not gonna make a difference if I'm gonna shop there, cause I could sit outside. It's what were we promised on the inside. Is there the butcher, the baker, all the little intricacies, the imported foods, the stuff you can't just get at the local things we have now. It needs to be different. It needs to be, I don't know if the word is upscale. People were expecting something based on a lot of talk, whether it was written in there or not. We were given a perception of what this was gonna be, and that's what we voted on.
Ken, the planning commission, if this were to come to them at any phase of this, let's say that this contract for some reason falls through and they work on somebody else, can the planning commission turn down the type of market that it is? I mean, in Dick's letter, it says market/grocery. It doesn't say high-end, it doesn't, and I don't know if you can really,
This might be a question
differentiate.
might be a question for Mr. Kelly.
Right. All right, Dan Kelly, Township Attorney. So we've talked about the permit commission, or conditions, so let me just read them to you. Section 4.1 states that the commercial retail uses such as a grocery or market, office space, restaurant, or other similar uses as approved by the township. So that's the general provision of what can be built in Phase 3. Then it goes on under Section 4.3 to state the following. The structures of such uses shall be upscale, high quality, and non-typical of a strip mall or a big box store, which shall be designed and constructed in such a manner as to provide and promote a consistent character and an architectural superior and harmonious design and appearance with residential phases. So that's the language that's in the permit conditions. I think the board understands there was no designated market, but when we address the approval of Phase 3, those are the conditions that we will review it, as well as the tentative, what I'll say, site plans that have been submitted.
So wouldn't you agree that there are sufficient standards there that the planning commission can?
Those were the negotiated standards. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the written document. Now, look, respecting the board's opinion tonight, there is a request to amend the PUD. And so, in my opinion, it is appropriate for the board to raise concerns as to whether or not we should grant this amendment and wait to review Phase 3, all right? So I think there's some gray area as to what the board should do. I would, the flip side of that is to tell you that there are standards. I've just read those standards. When Phase 3 comes in front of the board, you'll be able to enforce that it is an upscale, high quality, and non-typical of a strip mall or a big box, and that it is consistent and harmonious with the architecture of the residential community.
So Dan, let me ask you this. I
Yes.
am less concerned about that language. I understand what it says.
Mhm.
It says what it says. But what happens when we wind up in a recession and the market tanks and it doesn't make sense to build commercial there?
Right.
What stops another PUD amendment coming back requesting apartments on that parcel or more townhomes on that parcel?
Sure. Well, okay, that in part goes to the first request, which was to adjust the phasing. And our ordinance specifically provides that phasing is a determination to be a minor PUD. The Planning Commission has made that determination and recommendation with regard to phasing. And I think that that's the correct interpretation of that. If the phasing is changed, then there has to be some connection, in my opinion, between why we're looking at Phase 4 and saying that Phase 4 should not be approved separate and apart from what we're getting in Phase 3. You always take that risk when you initially approve phases, which we approved in this case way back. phases, so that this development could be constructed in phases. And that's not unusual. Developers can't sometimes raise all of the money, nor is it practical to expect them all to be done at the same time. But you're right, it's an identified risk that if the market does change a year from now and grocery stores are not viable, you'll likely have the developer come in and ask for an amendment at that time. I don't think we can make our decision based upon just that risk, though.
Because of the way the ordinance is written and because the ordinance states that phasing is a minor amendment.
Yes.
So on what basis would the board not be approving this tonight, since it, I mean, I'm just listening to Brian outline that this meets all the requirements of the ordinance, and that the modifications are parking calculations, landscape items, decks, and not to exceed 3-bedroom condos. I mean,
right.
Are we negotiating to permit that in relation to what? I guess I don't understand the proportionality and the reasonableness of what we're doing here.
Right. Well, I'm not going to exclude every possibility that the board might have, but you should be looking at phase 4 separately on its face. If there's a connection between phase 4 and phase 3, that somehow phase 4 will be affected because phase 3 has not already been approved, then that's a legitimate concern of the board.
And I haven't heard that yet, but.
Right. It has somewhat been articulated that this project, this is what I've heard, that this project was in theory based upon getting a market. And so phase 3 should go first ahead of phase 4 so that we guarantee that we're getting a market. Again, and I understand that that's what the board is saying. I think that's a judgment call. I think that the Planning Commission has already somewhat decided it because of the phasing question having been answered. And so the board may be in a position tonight to only be able to look at phase 4. You're still going to have the opportunity to look at phase 3 when it comes forward to make sure that it meets these standards that I just read. And that is another approach to how we can make sure that we get to where what we were promised.
So if we don't move forward with an approval of phase 4 this evening, there has to be a reason.
That's right.
What would the reason be?
Well, I mean, the board would have to have a reason that it is not consistent with the approved permit conditions, or that this amendment, which as I understand from the planner as well as Mr. Oppman, there's not significant changes to the plan. That's what I've heard from their reports.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering what the condition would be, or what the basis would be for not approving this.
Mr. Superintendent?
Paul?
A couple things. The Planning Commission originally said it was a major amendment. Then they called a special meeting, I think, when Mr. Ritchie was on vacation, and changed that vote. In either event, they're a recommending body. Ultimately, it's this board that makes the decision to move forward with this or not, and it is a request for an amendment, is that right?
Yes.
And this board has the ability to say no to that amendment.
Yes. Yes.
For a reason, a reason.
That's not correct. It's a Planning Commission decision, I'm sorry. Only a major amendment is a board decision, just to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to the ordinance. So
If there's not a board decision to be made tonight, then why is it before us?
no, because you have the authority to approve the site plan, Mr. Brown. That's your authority in this matter. The fact that it is was deemed to be a minor amendment is by ordinance solely a Planning Commission decision. But you do have the authority to approve or not approve the final site plan, which is what?
Final site plan for what? For phase 4?
Phase 4.
Yes, correct.
But not phase 3 right now.
Well, no, because we don't have a final site plan, and that will come before the board.
I'm just trying to isolate this so that we know what we're doing.
All right, so when we take our vote, we have to say why we did it? Isn't this just a choice for the board members to say, I vote this way or that way? I don't have to explain why I voted that, do I?
Well, I would prefer that you explain it because we have a request that the planning commission has approved and that both the outside consultants have agreed is somewhat minor and does not significantly change. So I would assume that the developer at that point would expect an explanation as to why he's not approved.
Well, I mean, especially since we have a developer that's been doing ongoing work in the township and has done good work, and we hope that he does a great job on the rest of this project. I think we want to work cooperatively.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can it be, can you make it contingent? Can you put something in there with a contingency, like if this phase goes, it's tied to phase 3 and this is a must or something?
Well, it already is in the sense that this is the approved plan, but we can't really force the developer. Essentially what you're saying is for the developer to agree that he will never ask for an amendment. And our ordinance allows for that, and it provides for standards to allow for an amendment. What the developer, if he comes forward with a market and a phase 3 commercial plan that's consistent with what we've agreed to, then he'll come forward to the board for that approval of the final site plan as well. But I don't think, we're not in a position to be able to tell any property owner that they are forever prohibited from exercising a right that they're granted under our ordinances.
So really, I think the problem is our own. We have created this problem because we, in our zoning ordinance, haven't required that phasing be a major amendment. That is what would give us teeth right now, but we haven't given that to ourselves. So, I mean, I don't know the appropriate time to request this, but I think that we should do a text amendment making phasing a major amendment. It's probably, I don't think that we can go ahead and do that now and then retroactively apply it to this project, but I would like to see in the future text amendment or phasing changes be a major amendment.
Sorry, Ron?
Just to go back to the original vote by the planning commission, I guess when I introduced the motion to vote down the thing, I to say it was a major amendment to the PUD, I guess I characterize it as a change, a possible change in character of the whole development if we don't get the market that we want. So phasing, I agreed. Phasing, to me, doesn't really have any change to the overall makeup. It's like the puzzle pieces put together. So we can, I wasn't using phasing as my argument to make it be a major amendment. I was making it that if we don't get the type of market we want, that changes the whole character of the development. And so I think character is one of the items for a major to make it be a major amendment to the PUD.
I agree with that, but I don't think at this time we can say that there's no market coming.
Well, that's why I was trying to nail down what kind of market we're going to get. And I agree with you. And part of my reasoning on stopping phase 4 until we know what's happening with phase 3 was that just what you were saying. They get in phase 4, all the homes are built, then like, we decided not to do a market. And they're verbalizing, oh, we have it, it's close, it's all ready. Well, that's the same thing they said about Nino Savaggio. It's like, we got Nino. It's like, we don't have Nino, so sorry about that.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I just don't think we have the legal right to deny this site plan based on phasing or even character at this point because they're not telling us we're not getting a market. So, unfortunately, I mean, it's really unfortunate and I don't like it, but
Mr. Supervisor?
It is what it is.
Yeah, Paul?
Might this be the occasion where the board would want to go into a closed session, discuss legal opinion with our attorney? We seem to be hearing a lot about legal options. Are we, would this be, I'm asking, would this be an appropriate time to do something like that?
I'd like to hear from the petitioner before we.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
The only quick answer to that is you have to have a written legal opinion to do that.
So we couldn't do it?
Yeah, it'd be questionable. I have one, but I'd have to get it to you.
No problem.
Good afternoon or evening, Mr. Supervisor. Jim Epping, 9336 Sashabaw Road, Clarkston, a resident of Independence Township, and also the land planner on this project and representing Mr. Silverman and Pulte Homes and our team tonight. I won't go through a lot of the history. I'm certainly here to answer questions and add to what Mr. Silverman said. My opinion, as it relates to a PUD and in terms of the leverage, I guess I'll speak on Mr. Silverman's behalf and really on our team's behalf and maybe most importantly as a resident, is we've, like all projects, but in this one particularly, have been very, very transparent, and I would hope to think very collaborative with the township. We've essentially done what we've said and said what we've done really right from the very beginning. Dating back more than 2 years ago, we invited 278 members to the Methodist Church down the street. We've done 79 different renditions of the site plan, have worked through the Planning Commission, the staff, the public hearings. I go over and meet with the township residents immediately adjacent to the park. About once a month, we're making sure that the construction is going well. Joe Score and his team from Pulte have been working hand in hand. If we get a complaint, we deal with it immediately, make sure that things are going well. My point is that we've really have consistently done exactly what we've said, and we've been very, very sincere and very deliberate with those statements and those claims. You bring up some really good points as it relates to just the market, the free market as opposed to a grocery market. And we again kept the board very appraised, the Planning Commission very appraised of the communications that we had, both when we had Continental Properties, an apartment developer, involved with the early phases. Before that was the First Amendment to the PUD. We spoke and continue to have that conversation with the public and with the township board to say, hey, we're shifting, we're going to reduce density, and we're going to go with Pulte Homes and townhomes because we think it's a better fit for the community, we think it's a better fit for the market, and based on sales and construction, I think we're right, that really is going to be a terrific fit in that change away from the apartments. As it relates to the market and the leverage, I think it's interesting, the term leverage, and I understand it, but I think what's unique about a PUD as opposed to straight zoning is leverage. In fact, that gives the township continued control, continued ability to moderate and make those changes. At the end of the day, we're all in the planning business, right? We plan buildings, we plan outdoor spaces, we plan roads, we plan infrastructure for the good of the community, not only now, but for generations to come. Any building we have, whether it's homes that have been converted to dentist's office, whether it's markets that have been converted to clothing stores, whether it's churches that have been converted to restaurants, our job, my job at least as a planner, is to plan spaces and plan our communities so that they last, with the understanding that businesses come and go, and the important thing is that the town and the infrastructure and the civic quality of our community has to remain. And so what the PUD document does, in my opinion, is it allows for the infrastructure, the quality of the space to remain, and to give the board and the Planning Commission every bit of that control to ensure architecture, to ensure placement up to the street, to ensure patios, to ensure sidewalk connections and landscaping and everything else. I'm a resident, I have my family here. We all know that the quality of Independence Township and the Clarkston community, that the demographics here, Buzz and his group are attracting very, very high-end quality users that we're all going to be proud to go to, whether it's with the retail or the restaurant or the grocery store itself. We can't control at the end of the day what markets actually make an offer, what markets actually make a purchase agreement, but what we can control are those planning and infrastructure things. And so what I think was mentioned tonight, but perhaps wasn't fully talked about, is by bringing phase 4 forward, essentially what that does is that begins to set the table for phase 3. It builds that road, right? That Walden Center Drive will have to be built to get back to phase 4, to these park villas. What's great about that then is that makes that project even more attractive for the retail. The retail says, okay, I've got the road improvement, I've got the phase 2 Walden Center Drive improvements. You've already seen how nice the Walden Center is developing now. So now that land is ready, these, any commercial business makes a dollars and cents decision. How close is it? How much do I have to put into it? That road is in place. It's able to move forward. That helps us attract markets. We've been through the process. It's a very deliberate and complicated process in Independence Township. We've had 2 or 3 pre-application meetings specifically to both sides of the commercial. We'll continue to have those as we, as your process dictates. Once the staff has reviewed it, the fire and safety, all those others, once it's at that point where they say, okay, this is ready to go to the Planning Commission, we'll certainly apply to the Planning Commission for consideration for Phase 3. But in my opinion, you maintain leverage. You've got a PUD. It's been well negotiated. We're not going anywhere. I live right down the street. Buzz has been here for 30 years, and so we're committed to do it right. I know that takes kind of a leap of faith on our part, but we're here to bring projects to you for the next 15, 20 years, so we're not going to screw up this time. Thank you.
Before you leave, I have a question that kind of, there's a 900-pound gorilla in the room here that we're not talking about, and that is, at what point in time will you be ready to bring Phase 3 in? And in other words, because that is what everybody's saying they want to have happen here. And I mean, if it's denied, that means you're held up until you get to Phase 3. And I guess, so my question is, to what extent is that a problem for you?
Well, it does be...
Mr. Chairman, if I could take that, Jim?
Please.
Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Okay, thank you again. One point of clarification. The road infrastructure, so the entry road coming off of Walden Road across from Walden Center and continuing Walden Center North is part of the infrastructure that we're putting in along with Phase 4. It's also, we have Walden Road widening, and the cost of the public benefit of this road infrastructure is just under $2 million, just the piece associated with Phase 4, not including what we did for the townhomes and the single family is about another $1.5 million of public infrastructure. Okay, so to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, the contract that we have, which unfortunately I signed a confidentiality agreement, but Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Ottman are both well aware of the folks that we're working with and who are extremely professional and very high quality, is intended to close and start construction by the end of November. That is the market piece. So we are well down the road with the market in terms of preliminary pre-application meetings and site concepts in working with your staff. And then as far as the west side of the commercial, so when Jim Epping says both sides of the commercial are moving forward quickly, he's talking about the market is the east side, is what we call it, East Commercial, and the balance of the retail and restaurants on West Commercial is moving forward at the same speed as well, with a separate retail specialist. So both under contract, both scheduled to close by the end of November, beginning of December at the latest. Both of those groups would rather close sooner. So you would be seeing
who would prefer closing sooner?
The market and the West Commercial developers would prefer to move forward sooner. So you will be seeing formal plans. Mr. Carlisle, Mr. Ottman, what do you think? 30 days, 45 days, something like that?
I don't believe. Well, we will start the process with the Planning Commission pre-application within that period of time. But yes, I mean it's imminent, and we're imminent that we are going to start getting plans that are in sufficient detail to start pulling the Planning Commission together on this particular matter. So yeah, 30 or 45 days. Is when the process will start.
Will there be a sooner time when you can present conceptual conceptual understanding to board members who are concerned about that so that they can be satisfied and comforted?
My advice would be, allow us to do the work first, because there are multiple details that need to be worked through. And I think at the time that we start to establish subcommittee, what our normal subcommittee process is in a pre-application meeting, that's the time that would be totally appropriate to have a board representative. And Mr. Ritchie, of course, is a board member, and quite frequently he's involved in these pre-application meetings. But I would be really reluctant to put anybody in the position to present a plan that hasn't been really vetted and by your consultants and your staff and members of your planning commission, to the point where it is, because it puts a commission in a bad position if board members take a position, this is good or this is bad, before they have even had an opportunity to do their work. So I just encourage everyone to follow the normal process. As painful as this project has been, it has gone through a normal, rigorous process.
And if I could add one thing, Mr. Chairman, and I am saying this with, I'm past president of the Builders Association. I have run divisions for public building companies, and so I am experienced in my field, but I'm still learning every day. And the place where I learn the most is Independence Township. Your staff and Mr. Carlisle have been very, very firm and very, I would say, very clear and very strict, as always, with us, and bringing out the best possible outcomes throughout the course of this development, and just as much so as coming into the retail piece. You would be very proud of the way your staff focuses on the importance of quality and excellence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor?
Just Rachel Laughlin wants to say a word. She's been waiting.
I have a couple questions
Waiting
for you,
patiently.
Mr. Silverman. My first question is, with regard to the grocer, how much money has gone hard in escrow dollars on that contract?
Okay, so I don't really think I'm at liberty to discuss the details of our contracts between our company, and this is a large company we're dealing with.
Has money gone hard, and or
They are
is it still
spending-
returnable?
Okay, let's put it this way. They are spending a fortune they're spending a lot of money and very aggressively in their plan production and in how quickly they're moving the process forward. They not
I
only
understand that, but the residents, that doesn't help the residents. And what I'm trying to do is gauge how easy it will be for that grocer to pull out should they feel the economic environment is not feasible enough for their project to move forward.
Well, I can give you some economic facts. The the Kroger down at Maybe is doing over $50 million a year, which puts it in the top 5, I'm told, by the experts in that industry in Michigan, which is why we were able to attract a great competitor with a very high quality concept. Ultimately, I mean, it took a couple years, and they had to see proof that the rest of the development was coming along, because they're not going to be first. They're typically last. As far as hard money deposits within contracts, I have to say I'm an expert in land conveyance. I look towards the production of the buyer in terms of site planning and architecture and submissions, a lot more than $25,000 non-refundable. I mean, these contracts are big numbers, but the corporations that enter into these agreements don't risk a lot of money because they don't know that they're approved. Once they get their approval, their money goes hard.
So
And they know very clearly what they have to do in order to get approved. Mr. Ottman and Mr. Carlisle have made that very clear to them.
what contingencies are left before they will close? Is it just site plan contingency, or are there other outstanding items that you can share?
These are great questions. So what I can share is governmental approvals. So that would be site plan approval and soil erosion permits, just the standard group, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And I know you have that background. So governmental approvals and the completion of the infrastructure that is going in with phase 4. So the extension of Walden Center North and the Walden Road improvements. Those are the two factors that are contingent: governmental approvals and the infrastructure improvements.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Dick, I'm sorry I cut you off.
Nope, that's quite all right. Those are great questions. I wanted to, in the course of any projects, but particularly PUDs, which we have all seen many times, it take considerable period of time. Perceptions about the project change. I've heard the statement made that, this project was approved in order to accommodate density. And in the initial approvals, that was true. And that's, but even as importantly as that was the fact that that density was improved in order to allow for a 15-acre park, a public park. When, of course, that changed, the board did see and approve a revised plan. And that's the plan that is before you tonight. This is the plan that you approved. In that plan, even though that there's less park area, it is private park and it is not on the public budget to have to maintain. It does provide 7 acres of open space, which is still a benefit to a PUD. But actually, the overall density of this project is less than what it is currently zoned. And I want to make sure that members of the public that are listening to this meeting understand that we have converted a substantial portion of this site that was zoned for multiple family, and in fact, all but the commercial and the portion along the freeway, which was zoned office service, was zoned multiple family. 2 portions of that are now single-family detached dwellings. All of the area that was zoned office service along the expressway, which is approximately 20 acres, is now going to be either residential or it's going to be open space. So, and the amount of commercial actually is somewhat less. So I hope board members understand that what you've done here to get to this point is an incredibly good thing. You have put yourselves and the township in so much better position than we were 15 years ago, when we had a piece of property that was zoned residential, master plan for industrial, and proposed for a Walmart. So congratulate yourselves about where we are right now, because it is so much better than where we could have been. And the plan itself is moving forward in a very positive way. And you'll have the opportunity to ensure that the quality of the commercial is what you expect, because you're going to see it. Thank you.
All right, well, I think we've beaten this up quite a bit, and I guess what I would like to ask for, and I don't know if people are willing to go along with this, but I'd like to see us go in one direction, or one of 2 directions. One would be to give a first reading to this project, and the other would be, if the board is very firm on not giving first reading to provide some reasonable basis for not doing so.
May I suggest a third option?
Sure.
I'd like additional legal counsel, and if we could ask for those opinions and take no action, and have a closed session at our next meeting to discuss with our attorney and make sure we all understand legally what we can and can't do, and make sure we do the best to make the right decision. So the third option would be to take no action and request that written legal opinion from our legal counsel. And
So let me say before we move forward with that, what Buzz said at the end of my questions helped a lot with regard to what the contingencies are for the grocer to move forward. And that is the completion of all of the Walden Road upgrades and work to be done as phase 4 moves forward. So, if we approve the site plan tonight, we will ensure that all of that work gets completed, and we will allow the grocer to close on his contract. If we don't move forward with the approval of this site plan tonight, we create the situation in which the grocer could pull out of the deal with Mr. Silverman, and we extend the length of the residential project, and my fear is the market could turn and that doesn't move forward, which means the road improvements never get done. So I think we should consider those things.
Hence the same quandary the planning commission was in when they voted for it, so.
Okay.
Basically, it gets back to it, that I have no problem with phase 4, so I mean, I think phase 4, has been vetted and beat up severely multiple times, so, we've rung it up and down many times, so, it doesn't have, going forward, phase 4 has nothing to do with anything other than, I guess what I tried to start out with at the beginning. Tonight is our only night to solidify something on phase 3 if we don't think we have enough.
But I think that we do that by approving the site plan, because that makes the road improvements happen.
Well, that makes the road, phase 4 makes the road improvements happen.
Yeah.
Phase 3 doesn't have anything to do with that, so.
Oh, I'm
'Cause they'll
sorry, I
already
was,
do it. That's not getting, what I'm getting at is like, Mr. Ottman or Mr. Epic and Mr. Ottman and them have read what's in the contract, what's in the PUD as far as what the amenities are gonna be. I guess what I'm getting at, it's like, all of you have listened to it now, I've listened to it many times, and I guess I feel, I don't know if there's enough security in that wording to get us what we want, so. My caveat on this whole thing is at the beginning, tonight is the night to do something if we want something more written into the whole thing. If we're changing the PUD, let's write that in the PUD is what I'm getting at, so.
okay. So what would you recommend?
What would we write into it?
I don't know what more we could put in.
What would we put in there?
Well, like right now, it talks about the outside of the building. So Mr. Silverman, I know will build us a very fantastic building. But like several of you have said here, you don't know what's gonna be inside the building. Is it gonna have and I guess, there again, I can sit here and run down all the amenities that a Nino Savaggio has or a Papa Joe's, whatever. To me, you can say, we can have a meat market, a fish market, a coffee bar, it's like florist, what are all the amenities that you do? But I mean, if we put 99 amenities on there, then now Mr. Silverman has to find the right grocer to do that.
Well, I don't think
and
we
that was the
can-
whole reason why, when they kept saying, and that Mr. Silverman never said this, but all of his team said this multiple times, it's Nino Savaggio.
Right, and
And
I
guess
don't know
getting
what,
at,
I'm just not gonna say
when,
that. I
When
don't have
Nino
anything nice
Savaggio
to
was
say
being
about
used as the
that.
model the whole time, and now, it's not Nino, but it's gonna be somebody else almost as nice. You guys you'll really like this.
But
And I just
can
feel that
we-
it's kind of like a bait and switch thing, so.
I totally agree, but at this point, with what we can do legally, phasing is a minor amendment, and can we dictate a company's business practice? Can we dictate whether or not they're going to be a butcher?
Tonight's the night to make that decision.
Well, we can dictate that
That's
they,
dictated in phase 3.
and we can dictate that
comes
they meet
forward.
the requirements that both sides have negotiated.
But what Ron is saying is we're opening up the PUD for an amendment right now. So if we're going to amend the PUD, we should amend everything we want right now.
That,
also
that,
first
that requires
Right.
two sides to agree. You can't just open up the PUD unilaterally. Both sides have to agree to an amendment.
I appreciate everyone's expertise. I would really like a legal opinion, and that's why I think 2 weeks isn't gonna hurt. I don't think 2 weeks can hurt. And for us to make sure we do this right and have a legal opinion, for someone who's looked into the questions we've raised, and come back to the next meeting, I think the public deserves us not rushing through here. I know this thing's been going on a long time. 2 more weeks can't be the end of anything.
But just so that we're not wasting our time, though, what are the legal questions that you want answered?
The opinion of what we can legally do relative to the things we're asking about. Can we vote no for different reasons? But again, those are legal questions we should do in a closed session.
Well, but it'd be good to know what the questions are, at least.
Well, I believe we can tell them that after. We're not gonna, if we don't take any action, we can have conversations with our attorney and then have a closed session to discuss that. I don't think it makes sense for us to start the legal conversation now in public, when I think, given the circumstances, we should probably do that in private, in a closed session, to get that opinion. I think that's appropriate. In this case, if I'm wrong, I understand that, but.
I just don't know what the legal questions are, that's all.
Right,
That's why I'm asking.
I don't, again, I don't think we want to do that in public. If you would like to speak with me, after the meeting or tomorrow, I could certainly share that with the attorney, the questions I have, and get an opinion in 2 weeks.
Well, what's the pleasure of the board? I don't think we're gonna narrow this down. Did you want to speak?
I didn't know if the public was going to be invited to offer any input, so.
Maybe I'll have public comment right now for anybody.
We can, unless somebody would like to make a motion, would you like to speak before a motion is made?
I would think it'd be appropriate. We normally have public comment before the motion, so.
You can do it either way.
All right.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Patrick J. Kittle. I live at 4647 Oakhurst Ridge Road. And I kind of feel like this is Groundhog Day. We've talked about Walden Village for a long time, and I tell you one thing, Mr. Silverman and Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Epping, I think have done a yeoman's job of putting together the plan that you currently have before you. There have been a ton of compromises. Mr. Silverman has bent over backwards to try to accommodate the township, to make sure that what is done is a quality project. Again, with Pulte and the townhomes and the whole McGilla. I think this thing is head and shoulders above what anybody first expected when we had Continental in here with a bazillion apartments and parks that we didn't know how we were gonna manage. And then, come around, I believe it was in 2021, where I distinctly remember Mr. Epic approaching the Planning Commission when it was a second reading of what we see right here. And he had made the announcement that he could publicly say that Nino's, that they are actively negotiating with Nino's, and Buzz has given him permission to say the word. And then when it came to the first reading for us of what we have here, I think everybody was relatively happy to reduce the apartment count from 230 to, I think we've got 130 townhomes, and yeah, there was a bump in the condos from 50 to 79. But then again, the conversation was about how excited the negotiations have been going with Nino's. And Mr. Carlisle had made reference to, some of the exterior amenities, and that he was working with, the developer and the prospective market on parking and things that they're gonna need. And then, we move forward to the second reading, and I distinctly remember Treasurer Lochran asking Mr. Silverman directly, so when are we gonna get our Ninos? And I think the response was, and I gotta give these guys credit, they never said that, yeah, we're gonna get it, but it was always, we're working on it. We're excited, we're making great strides. And then I left in September. I think that last meeting was August or something like that. And I'll be honest with you, I was jazzed. I thought this was gonna go through like stuff through a goose when it comes through approvals. But then it was the following year, and I remember I was in Florida, and I'm hearing chirps about there's problems, something's going on. You know, Nino's is gone into hiding, and then I'm hearing Buzz has gone into hiding, and then I'm hearing at the first PC meeting that Nino's is out, that they dropped out of negotiations. And it was kind of interesting, you know, during the meeting, as I actually had Nino's attorney sitting next to me. And he says, no, he says, you know, we're still in the game. We still want to be in the game. You know, but there's a new player in town. So, and I think that's where, me personally, I kind of felt like we got, got a board, you got dangle the shiny things in front of you, you dazzle people, but this was always predicated on a Nino or a Nino-like market. Something with a world-class butcher in a fresh fish market, and rolls of cheeses that you could come in and select your own cut. You know, a bakery with fresh bread and Danish and cookies that you could taste before you go out and buy. You know, with wine stewards there who could actually help you pick your wine, specialty foods, prepared foods. And I think that's, I know with me, I can only speak for me, I know that is what I used as kind of my gauge on why I approved what I approved, and I think most of the board members would probably not say, yeah, that's pretty close. So again, when the word came out that Nino's was out, it kind of left, I don't know about you, it just left a bad feeling, in my gut, and I don't know right, wrong, or indifferent on the business end of it, but again, I was just I know Nino's still wants to be a player. I don't know what happened to the negotiations. I don't know what happened to the money that was offered. But, you were talking what happens if there's a contingency. I think we got the fallback that Nino's would still be a player. And if Nino's was up there right now, and that's going to be the market, I'm sure the secondary stuff is peripheral, to the overall decision. I'm sure the board wouldn't be having these discussions. So that's kind of where my head's at, Mr. Fisher. There was a lot of discussion with the PC on major, minor. Yeah, I understand phasing's a minor thing, but I truly think that if it's not a Nino's type of market, I truly think that does change the character of what's going to be happening, and that is grounds for, making that this would be a major change. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond?
Yes, please.
At the Planning Commission meeting, thank you. At the Planning Commission meeting, we had this exact same conversation. And as Mr. Kittle, who I have a lot of respect for, knows, or maybe forgot, I did provide him with documentation as to, I have to be careful. I think Nino's is a great company. I think there's a lot of great companies in the world. But I can't control companies that I'm dealing with in their decision process to risk $20 million or not. So it's accurate that we were in negotiations, and it's also accurate that they pulled and that those ceased, and that other folks who we solicited, we talked to almost a dozen potential markets to try to find somebody. And but the whole notion of trying to spin it to make it sound like I bait and switched Independence Township is very offensive to me. I have to say that, because we did not. We just told the truth, as we always do, and given the opportunity, we'll do the right thing, as we always do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the public? Anybody else online? Is there action that the board wishes to take?
I would like to have a few comments. I was reading the package this morning, Supervisor. I know that Mr. Ockman and a lot of people put a lot of effort and work I'm not here to criticize Pulte. I know Pulte is a good company, and I understand the circumstances and what. And Trustee Ritchie have a very good points. I appreciate the input for everybody here today. This morning when I was reading the package, I was surprised to read something that from the chairman of the Planning Commission. It's in the page 39, where he quote state that the goal is to create a walkable neighborhood with urban density like Royal Oak and Ferndale. A lot of people, I talked to several people over the past 3 months, and actually surrounded that development precinct 6 and 7, and 8 too. And a lot of people don't want to be like those cities. They actually want to keep us a bedroom community, and it's no secret about that and all that. Also, another concern is right here in page 39 it says he agrees that snow plowing is an issue, and Clerk Newbeck actually talked about that, which I don't think so would be fair for a consumer or buyer to buy during the summer or the spring. And, you know, during that time it's no winter season, and then they find out there's a problem with the snow plowing, correct? Which can be a problem. But also, I look at it, I mean, it seems, to me, I see a lot of density there, but right here, I see they have a nice park, which is nice for amenities for here. Right here, I see a lot of nice park for these people right here, which is good. But right here, I do believe it maybe should be an open space right here for all these people right here. That's all my comments I have to say. I mean, I know I have more comments, but I know you guys already addressed your comments, and I respect them. That's all. That's all I'm gonna say.
Just to get the meaning of what you're saying, are you saying that there should be no commercial here and it just should be a bedroom community?
I didn't say that. People are saying that they would like to see less density. And those questions were brought to us during the last 3 months, I believe, right? That's all I say. I know oppose commercial or anything like that. What I'm saying is I see too much density in that project, and I just recommend maybe to have open space right there. That's all I'm saying. Everything else was addressed by everybody else today. That's all.
So when you said bedroom community, you didn't mean to wipe out all the commercial from this?
When I said, when people asking for that, I brought an input for several people that I spoke with, and they told me what they want to see in this development. And I'm very concerned about that, what the chairman of the planning commission state. That's all I bring it up. Okay? That's all.
Okay.
Well, in a development like this, where you have such dense housing, I think it makes a lot of sense to have walkable commercial. Otherwise, we just have loads of urban sprawl. And all of these residences need services, and you'll find those services in the commercial section of this development.
I think the park
You're
area-
getting your bedroom community with all of these people moving in here, because otherwise we could have had a Walmart. So this is a better development than what had been proposed in the past. And I don't think losing 4 condos makes any bit of difference in the entire design of this project.
All right, well, also, people were saying, I was talking about what I talked to residents that live nearby. That's all I say. They also says that they think that this part should be more moved to the middle, because this is what I'm saying. Because it looks like the full benefit for the park is for the people that live right here, but not for everybody else right here. That's all.
I see a path that goes to that park that's easily accessible, so.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
That's all.
unless there are other comments, is there action that anybody would care to propose?
I'll move to approve the first reading of the amendment to the Walden Village 2 PUD, including Phase 4 of the development consisting of 78 single-family villas located on the north side of Walden Road, east of Walters Road. Schedule a second reading before the Township Board of Trustees following completion of the required legal documents and review by the Township's General Counsel, and direct the clerk to publish the notice in the manner prescribed by law.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion by the board? Not all in favor of the motion?
We have a
Aye.
roll call, please.
A roll call?
You want a roll call?
Yes.
Roll call vote.
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Treasurer Lockren?
Yes.
Trustee Aliaga?
No.
Trustee Brown?
No.
Trustee Alamothu?
No.
Trustee Ritchie?
Yes.
Supervisor Fisher?
Yes.
Motion carried 4-3.
All right. Thank you very much for your patience, everybody. This was a really healthy discussion. I hope everybody agrees. And I have confidence that, that this is going to move forward in the right direction. It's my hope.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Buzz Chairman, for the last time tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for all the good questions and the input and the passion, really, for excellence. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we love doing business in Independence Township for all this time. So thank you, trustees and staff and members of the public. We look forward to moving this important project ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 2. Item number 2.
Can I, well, I need a recess.
Okay, we've got a request for a recess. It is now
I need one too.
8 o'clock. We're going to reconvene at, say, 8:10. Is that?
Sounds good.
We're in recess. recess, and the meeting will continue with item number 2, to approve an amendment to the agreements for engineering professional services with 2 companies.
Correct.
Mr. McKee.
Good evening, everyone. Just a quick little background on this. So the engineering firms that the township uses, back in 2019, our goal essentially was to put it in layman's terms, we wanted to put a couple more horses in our stable. This gives the departments throughout the township an opportunity to utilize other engineering companies who excel in one thing or another, but it gives us the options to expand our.
Excuse me, Dave.
Yes.
ITV's asking if we can close the graphic on the computer so they can continue video. Thank you.
I'm gonna do my best here without trying to just like disconnect the whole meeting.
And just hit escape.
Hit escape.
Keyboard.
Okay.
And close it.
Okay, I'm just gonna exit. Oof. How's that? Is that good, or do you wanna?
Let's see.
Is there Teams?
The
He
Teams
said thank you.
box at the bottom.
Okay. I didn't shut off anybody now, did I?
You said thank you. I guess just
Okay.
keep going and hopefully
Okay.
he'll bring it up.
Didn't want to- Any online guests, I hope I just didn't dump them, so I apologize if that happened. So where were we? Oh, the engineering firms back, we wanted to put some more horses in our stable. I used that analogy then, and I'm just doing it now as well. So we did 3 back in 2019, and they were for 3-year contracts. The contracts are expiring this month. The original 3-year contracts are expiring this month. In that original agreement, we did have the option to open it up and negotiate an extension for an additional 3 years. Working with the building department and Brian Ottman in the planning department and the engineering services, we came to the conclusion that we would like to extend that option, use that option for 2 of the firms that we have that were originally approved in 2019, and that is for DLZ Michigan and for Nowak and Frous. Both Public Works, Planning Department, Parks and Recreation. We've used both of these firms with excellent results. They've been very good, very cost effective for us compared to other numbers that we have seen. And we would like to do a contract amendment to the original contract amendment to extend it for an additional 3 years. In doing so, we did open up and we talked to the firms. We negotiated, the only change that would be a 3.25% increase to their fee schedules, which is in your board packet, across the board. We felt this is more than accommodating to us, for us, because everything's been double digits, as we know, over the past year, and it's a couple times. In my world, I've seen material double, twice in 1 year with double-digit increases. So they agreed to that 3.25% across the board. We feel that it is in our best interest to pursue that. And in keeping with the procurement policy, we also requested and had the supervisor and the clerk review that proposal and agree to, it's not deviate from the procurement policy, but it does allow us to accept this proposal. It's, instead of going back out for bid for everything, I should say, accept their proposals in this increase and this amendment, instead of going back out for bid and essentially reinventing the wheel where we could probably, more than likely, would get double-digit increases come back to us. So there's no really material advantage. We feel that it's more than adequate. The 3.25 on our end, they agreed to it, and so we brought it to the board tonight for approval for those 2, for DLZ Michigan and for Nowak and Frous.
Any questions or comments of the board? Yes, Jose.
Dave, I just wonder, what happened with OHM advisors? What we know regular with them?
Well, to be honest, OHM's pricing fee schedules, we didn't do a lot of projects with them because it was expensive. Okay. We have found that mixing up, we've all used, I'm still using OHM. We still have a project going on with them, a multi-million-dollar one with them. It's a big one, We just didn't want to extend, we just felt it wasn't in our best interest to just extend it to them as well. Maybe it's not fair to them, but we just won't use them. And I just want to point out, too, that we still have Hubbell, Roth & Clark as an engineering firm that we use. Their contract is structured totally different. It's not like these 2 right here. In the future, we'd like to get everybody on the same page, so we're going to talk to them Holbrook and Clark, in the future, we have all year. It renews automatically, essentially how theirs works. So theirs renewed, they're good till the end of the year. So we'll talk to them in the future before the end of the year to see if we get them on the kind of the same path with here. We feel that those three give us the best advantage to be as prudent as possible and to give us the skill sets outside engineering firm that covers everything that we need to do.
Any other questions or comments by the board members? Any members of the public? Oh, Carrie.
I just think if someone should make a motion, and we do proceed to go forward with this, that the motion reflects the names of the company. The MAFE refers back to the original motion in 19, and the motion before us, I don't believe, indicates the names of the two firms. And I think for history purposes that they should be indicated.
Great point, great point.
Okay.
Great
That's all
point,
I
Carrie, I
have.
appreciate that. Yep.
That's all. Sorry, Dave, I didn't think about that sooner.
No, that's,
but
I
it just
should
came
have
to
caught
me.
that. I apologize for that. For the record, this is in the motion, would be for DLZ Michigan and for Nowak and Frauss of Pontiac, Michigan.
Any members of the public input here? And I don't see anybody online at this point. Maybe
TVs are frozen as well, so I'm not sure what's going on. It still has the picture up on the, see, we're all frozen up there.
Yeah.
We may have a
Anybody
TV
online
problem.
hear us?
That's, we should ask. Something.
Oh, there it comes. You fixed it.
We do hear you.
Great.
We are here.
Wonderful. Any input on this item?
Nope.
Apparently not. Then is there a motion? There's a motion in order here.
I'll move to approve the amendments to the professional engineering services agreement to include Norwalk and Frauss of Pontiac, Michigan, and DLZ Michigan of Waterford, Michigan, associated with the civil engineering and professional consulting services for the Charter Township of Independence as presented, and direct the supervisor and clerk to sign the professional services agreement amendment with each firm as the authorized representative of the township, subject to submitting required finance and insurance documents as applicable to the clerk's office.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 3 is request to approve interior facility improvements, that is design for those improvements, both for DPW and Fire Station number 1.
So if the board will recall, a little over a year ago, I came to the board and we were going to do for a design build type of project at the Public Works building for interior renovations. Outside's looking great over there, but the interior renovations, the interior office areas of the Department of Public Works is nothing short of a disaster. It's a mess. I have no staffing, or I should say, the staff I have no place for their own. I have multiple people sitting at one desk, one computer. They don't have anything. It's just so inefficient. It's terrible. It's the way it is. So I complain about it, and at that time I came to the board, and it was clear to me that the direction we needed to go to is a little bit different in how we did this project. I appreciate the fact that you recognize the fact that it needed to be done. It's just how are we going to do it and what procedures are we going to do it. So with that being said, Fire Chief and I got together because with similar projects that he has for Station 1, what we did is we went out and we, utilizing the services of AKA, which is Auger Keller, AKA Associates. I keep messing their name up. It's AKA, sorry. Yeah, Auger, Klein and Aller, which is an architectural firm that's what they do. They do design. Now, we thought that the best way to do this, and they have a contract with Oakland County. So with that contract for Oakland County, and they signed a cooperative purchasing agreement, they honor their pricing and their services for us, just like they did for Oakland County. So that was a bonus on that. Plus the fact that with both our projects that Chief Pichet and myself have for our buildings, the economies of scale came into play quite well too. So tonight, we're looking for board approval to have AKA and Associates do the design work only for the DPW renovations and for Fire Station 1. And with that being said is, once those are done, we will have an idea of project costs, Dave, what it would cost to do what we need to do. They'll evaluate our buildings separately, obviously, and that's why there is a difference in price. DPW building is essentially it's old building, and not a lot's been done. It just really needs a lot of work interior-wise to get it up to standard. I wish it looked half as good as the boardroom here. It's just the way it is, but let's move forward, and we wanted to move forward to do that. We have budgeted for this process for the design work only, and we do have some pictures of our facilities. If you needed to see those again, I believe those are ready, but I know we've showed you those in the past. All of you been over there at one time or another. It's just, you know what's going on over there. You've seen it.
Just come sit at the board table, the conference room table there, and it's only like 2 foot off the ground. So.
It speaks volumes.
Well, that's
there,
good.
so,
That's easy for somebody like you. What about me?
Yep. There you go. So we're, in our design scope that we want to do is, we ain't building no Taj Mahals. I want to make that really clear. We're in a functional working space for the employees to do their thing, so they can do their thing for the township. It's just nothing elaborate or nothing like that. It's just going to be a very functional, very organized, and efficient office space where people can sit in and come into work, have their own little private Idaho. I know I use a lot of cliches when it comes to that, but they need to have a workspace of their own, not 4 people working in a certain space, not have facilities. I don't want to speak for the chief, he'll speak a couple words about his, but even restroom facilities and need to be upgraded, and locker rooms, because for female employees, it's just, it needs to be addressed.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
any other questions you have for
Well,
Public Works?
you're going to stay there, right, for questions?
Absolutely. No, I'm not going anywhere.
Chief?
I guess just to echo Dave, my situation is quite similar with Fire Station 1. We have a lack of storage, and I'll show you some pictures here in a minute. We have files all over the building where they shouldn't be. We have a situation where male and female firefighters have to get undressed and dressed with no privacy. They sleep with no privacy. They have bathroom facilities that don't provide them with the privacy. So we've got that going on. Additionally, throughout the station, there's issues with updating in terms of the lighting situation. Our kitchen, if you've ever been to the fire station recently to see the kitchen, you'll see in one of my slides, I actually call it disgusting. It's not what it should be. So the building is essentially run down. It needs improvement all the way around. We are in the same situation relative to spaces for our day administrative staff. We have staff essentially about this close to each other. They're trying to sit and do their work, use the phone, try to talk to various citizens and business owners, and everybody's on top of each other. So we need the space essentially renovated. And in terms of the fire station itself, the size of the station is fine. It's just from the walls in, just needs to be laid out to today's standard of what we're doing with that fire department and how it runs today versus what it was back in '97. So that's kind of the quick snapshot, and I think the pictures will kind of tell the story too as we go through it. So.
Yeah, I just echo Dave a little bit too. One of the things that in the grand scheme of things township-wide is the Public Works Department is going to be kind of a backup for IT things and all of that. So we want to, part of the renovation will include all of that too, so there is backup. And so, in the unlikely event we need his services desperately at my building or here, township can function. We'll continue to function. So the scope of not just, creating spaces to, not only creating spaces for the employees, but it also is looking at the big picture for infrastructure-wise for the whole township, in my case, and with his too, because they need their space, to operate efficiently.
I don't want to deprive you of any further time on the floor there, but I would like to ask board members if they would need to see anything more before they act on this.
I've been over there, I've seen it.
Yeah.
One question to help the public too, Chief, and I just, whenever you, I guess they're talking about the the 3 different fire centers that we have, that, you know, you tell us which one it is, like Fire Station 1 is on Citation Drive, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just for the public, because like a lot of times they might not know which one's number 1, number 2, number 3, and that. So,
And we are talking about the one on Citation Drive.
okay, very good.
And DPW 1.
Don't be coming back for number 2, so it's like.
Sorry.
I think I would be correct in saying that at the DPW, that you guys have made lots of efforts over the years to try and, on your own accord, kind of fix some things up to get the most you could out of it over the years.
Yeah.
And you've made changes, even though you didn't go out and hire people to do it. You just kind of worked with what you had. And I think that's an important thing to share.
I appreciate
You've really
that.
done everything you can up to this point, and all your people chipping in to do that work too, so.
And I
Thanks,
think that,
Paul, appreciate that.
I think the MAVE tonight really is a reflection of, Dave, like I say, you did come back to us once before and wanted to start making some changes, but there was you got bombarded with a bunch of questions like, well, how do you know this is the right price for that, or how do you know this is right for that? So by doing what you're doing, it's going to give us a more professional review of what needs to take place that everybody can review and then decide to move forward or not.
So we come here for it, get direction, you can get some advice and move on and get projects approved.
We appreciate
You know,
that.
It worked out great. In this case, I'm quite happy.
And there'll be a design, and the board will have that presented to them, and
Yeah, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but once the design phase is completed, kind of look to do the same thing through cooperative purchasing agreements for the construction piece. So the actual construction, this is design only. And then we can do the construction piece through cooperative purchasing agreements with probably a construction management company. Again, that means we're not using our resources to manage this job. It'll be a company who, this is what they do. They go out for bid for all the trades, for everything, and report to us, and then we will come to the board and say.
there'll be two separate buckets. There'll be 2 separate buckets for financing, so we'll have to deal with that.
Right. Enterprise fund, fire fund.
Yeah.
So it'll be all separate, but,
Yeah.
Again, economies of scale, I think we're looking at.
Yeah, because we're also looking, if it gets approved tonight and we get their design, and that design is approved by you folks, when we go to price out through construction, the plan is that we're using one construction company to handle both our projects, again, for the economies of scale, the sharing of superintendents on both projects. We've already spoken to a couple companies, and that would be the best way to go in terms of fiscally being responsible. So
Yeah.
that's why we wanted to team up and do the project together. So.
Right, anybody in the members of the public? Anybody online? Nobody online? Okay, bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to make?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal for professional services associated with interior facilities improvements for the Department of Public Works and the Independence Township Fire Station Number 1 as submitted by Auger Klein Aller, AKA Architects Incorporated of Rochester, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $58,700 for the DPW project and $47,700 for the Fire Station Number 1 project pursuant to Section 1.6 Cooperative and Extended Purchasing and Section 3.2 Procurement Procedures of the Township's Procurement Petty Cash Credit Card Policy, and authorize the supervisor to sign the proposals as the authorized representative of the township.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good presentation. Okay. Next item is a request to approve a 2022 budget amendment number 19. Just the town hall and fire accounts for lawn maintenance.
That is
And we're
correct.
just getting Rick warmed up for more budget discussions.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You're like, good evening, everyone. What this is basically in the past, we've had the Safety Path and DPW, their part-time employees have basically handled all the lawn maintenance for Town Hall and the 3 fire stations. And we actually had it set up pretty nice where these part-timers could actually go right to their timesheets and they can actually put in the location that they worked and then would get charged directly to those locations, which was pretty sweet. However, due to the lack of part-time employees out there and our inability to get anybody to work for us, we had to actually look outside and look for an outside company to actually do this work for us. Well, unfortunately, that created a couple problems. Number one, the budgets for this lawn maintenance are up in the labor section, not down in building and grounds maintenance. And the second part is the cost is coming in a lot higher than what we would do it for ourselves. So basically a budget amendment is needed to move the budgets that we have up in the labor section down into building and grounds maintenance so that we can pay bills. And the other second part of that is the fire fund is going to need about another $5,200. We thought they might be able to absorb it in their budget, but they got pretty much their whole budget on other building and grounds type maintenance items. So they need an extra $5,200 to cover the balance of the season. As far as town hall goes, it's about an extra $1,200. I'm not going to amend for that. I think the budget itself can handle that. So basically what I'm looking at tonight is just the amendment to move the labor dollars down to building and grounds maintenance in the fire fund and town hall, and then the additional $5,200 for fire, so they can continue to pay for that service.
Any questions?
I move to approve the 2022 budget amendment number 19 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any members of the public want to have input? Anybody online? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, budget amendment 20, this is item number 5. Budget amendment 20 to add a small number of dollars to the Thendera road maintenance program. As soon as we hear the Thendera road maintenance program, everybody's a little concerned, but it's a small number of dollars.
It actually is.
Sir,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
do I need to, I benefit from this program. I live on Thendera, so
Would you like to be recused?
it's just as easy to go ahead and recuse myself.
Okay, is there a
I would ask the
motion?
board to recuse me from
Is there a motion?
participating.
Move to let Paul Brown recuse himself for this item.
Is there a second? Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You are recused, sir.
Thank you.
So moving on, just a little history here. At the October 5th, 2021 board meeting, the board approved a motion to adopt the resolution 2021-021 to confirm the special assessment role for the Thendera Special Assessment District, District 2. And it included winter road maintenance along with repairs. That was motion 2021-10-233. Basically, this budget amendment focuses strictly on the repair side of that special assessment. Unbeknownst to me, I found out about this later on, that we were actually collecting this repair maintenance with this last December bill, tax bill that went out to the tune of about $50 per parcel. We collected $5,200 through that process, and we were still in the process of trying to figure out how to deal with this money and how to account for it, and when we do get repair bills, how are we going to pay for them? Well, we actually, we got an invoice in, and so it kind of pushed everything a little bit forward. And we did consult our auditors, and we basically have to treat it the same way that we treat the snow plowing and salting. So in other words, what that means is it will continue to be on the assessment rolls every year when tax bills go out in December. We will collect that money. It will show up as a revenue item in the general fund. And on the expense side, just like we have Thendera 1 and Thendera 2 for the snow plowing, we're setting up another account for road maintenance. So we're going to have to budget for it every year. And so we're going to have to manually basically keep track of this and all the money that comes in and all the money that we spend. And then each year, whatever's left, we're going to have to budget for, because we're never going to know when these bills come in, how much they're going to be. So it's just it's an unfortunate thing that we have to do, but we will maintain it and we'll deal with it.
So this is road maintenance other than snow plowing?
That is correct. Yep. They put $50 per parcel on each, and it's supposed to go for 5 years. So it's going to accumulate somewhere around $26,000, somewhere in that range.
So that was part of the SAD?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was. So we collected the $5,200, and what this amendment does, because we didn't budget for this, obviously, didn't know that this was going to happen. So we just need a budget amendment for the $5,200, which is the maximum amount that we collected this year, so that we can pay the bill. I think it was like $1,500, and get that basically taken care of. because they have been asking about it too, so.
All right, any questions?
Just one comment that, again, this is a SAD, it's paid by these homeowners, residents of Thindara, and not external tax dollars from the township, so.
Good
In case
point.
anybody's listening,
point.
Yep,
they
good
think
point.
they're paying for somebody else's road repair, they're not.
They're not, right.
They're paying, the residents are paying for their own roads.
They have a question, they can call Rick.
There you go.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Members of the public? Anybody online? Did we lose?
Rick, quick question.
Yeah,
I
sure.
didn't see the invoice there. Just is an invoice for this, or?
There is an invoice, yes. We just didn't include it in the package.
Basically, what he wants the budget amendment just to accept the 5,200 to put in the account. But they've been paying the bills all along. You don't normally see every bill that comes
So
in.
this isn't to pay a bill, this is just.
No, this
is
is
just
to actually do the budget amendment to put money there so we can pay the bill.
So,
Okay? And the money we've already collected, so.
right.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion?
Well, I guess it's blocked. Maybe someone wanna.
I asked.
You know, anyone online?
I asked about it already. And,
Can people can hear us? Maybe.
No comments.
No comments?
No, I'll move to approve the 2022 budget amendment number 20 as presented.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Say opposed, say nay if you oppose. Hearing no nays, the
Thank you
motion
very much.
carries. All right, item number 6 involves, this is the building department, and there are two parts to this. One is a continuation of plan reviews and backup inspections, and the other part is internal housekeeping for the building department on building permits.
Good evening, I'm Dave Moran, building official. As Jerry described, this is a proposal to submit for contract services for inspections, plan reviews, and expired permit management for the building department. Inspection and plan review services have been provided by, to the Charter Township of Independence by Safe Built since 2013. Since our vendor had asked for a price increase, it was decided that now is the time to competitively bid these services. And so the RFP was compiled and posted on the township website and also through Mitten. The bid advertisement was closed on June 30th, 2022. First section of that contract is for inspections and plan review. 2 bids were received for backup inspections and plan review, and since the fees were provided by an hourly rate and per inspection rate, 2021 total inspections and actual cost from Safe Built were used in the comparison. Carlisle Wortman, total cost is based on proposed $80 per inspection for 2022. After evaluating each bid, it is recommended that Safe Built Michigan LLC be approved as the township's vendor providing building inspection services and plan review. The new contract will allow for the option of providing the township with ongoing support to the building department for inspection services as well as plan reviews subject to a 90-day termination. Excuse me. The second section is for expired permit management. This section is for a large quantity of expired permits that have been accumulated and for which final inspections have not been completed. The service required will involve the review of records to identify the permits that require attention and to undertake administrative and inspection work to resolve the expired permit. Only one bid was presented for this particular service by Carlisle Wortman, and it is as follows in terms of the administrative and inspection fees. Given the significant experience of Carlisle Wortman working with building permits and inspections and the long history of the township In working with this firm for professional planning purposes, it is recommended that the bid for expired permit management services be awarded to Carlisle Wardman.
And as far as that second part, the first part is kind of routine because it's a continuation of what you've been doing.
Correct.
But the second part, we really don't know what the cost for sure is going to be on that. It's going to take some investigation, and it might be it might be small, it might be large though.
Yeah, it's accumulation of, you know, expired permits from back in 2008 and forward. So we don't really know how that's going to be handled. It'll take some monitoring and management from my department, myself, to see how that, you know, kind of, you know, goes on. You know,
Yeah.
we don't really know, so.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's why we don't have a budget amendment at this point, is because we really don't know
Right.
what is involved. All right, any questions?
I have a question. I guess for Mr. Carlisle. Should the board move forward with approving then you to do or your firm to do the expired permit situation, who would be the person that would sign off as the building official on those items?
Well, you know, we're going to have to discuss, I don't think we've gotten into the full details of that with your building official, but ultimately, we're going to have to make a recommendation to him to be able to sign off on those. Because we cannot, we're not your building official. So what we'll do is present all the information that represents that the permit has been closed out. And then if there's further investigation that needs to be made, you know, we will do so as directed by Mr. Moran. So, you know, that's how these things typically work.
So the answer is that you will not provide building official services. You'll be doing administrative and inspections.
We cannot.
Yeah.
We are not your designated building official. Your designated building official by law is the gentleman standing at your podium. But what we can do is provide everything that is needed, and frankly, nobody but your building official can sign off on those. But we'll provide it. We've done this for many communities, as well as provide building services since actually 1991, and previously to Independence Township. So this is a process that, you know, he's walked into a situation where you have a couple thousand unexpired permits, and we're just here to help your department clear them out.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said
Oh, sorry, you had one. You had one.
I'll be quick. Dick, you said you guys have done this before for other communities. With that, looking at that number of, let's say, 1,400, what would be your guesstimate on how long this would take?
Well, you know, some of that's dependent on the community itself. I mean, that is not an onerous number for the staff that we have. It could be done in less than a year, in my opinion, probably less. For budgetary reasons, we've had communities that have asked us to do this, but extended over a 2-year period. And I think that's something we would need to work with your building department to determine that. But we have ample resources to be able to bring a team in and clear it out pretty quickly.
Okay.
That's it.
So the motion before us, though, does say to authorize the supervisor to sign the contract, but we don't really have that spelled out yet, correct? So is that something that would come back to the board as the form of a contract, or would?
Well, I believe our proposal actually is in a letter contract form that was in your packet. But, you know, whatever the board's pleasure is, I mean, look, I've worked under a letter agreement for 40 years with the township, so whatever the board, whatever the board's pleasure is, we will be happy to, we will provide whatever further that is needed that's not already in the agenda packet, to the township supervisor.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes, Terry.
I always get confused, like you mentioned Part B, that Carlisle Wortman was the only one that signed up. My
Yes.
question is about Part A. Don't we normally have to see other bids? You said it's a continuation, but at some point, don't you?
If Carlisle
They
would
both-
also bid for A, and I know that the building official, Dave Moran, reached out to Wade Trim,
Correct.
so we put it on Mitten and other places, so.
But aren't they usually listed in here?
Well,
They're
yeah,
attached.
Wade
The
Trim
bids-
didn't bid.
The bids are attached.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I'm
there is
sorry, I missed it.
There's a
Okay.
tab sheet as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Any members of the public? Anybody online, other than Mr. Carlisle? Hearing none?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
So those are expired, right? What we see in here is expired. Hold on.
Which number are you looking at?
Hold on. The building permits are expired is what we're looking into, right?
For the second part of
The
the
building
contract would be addressing the expired permits, correct?
Okay, and how long those permits are issued for? 6 months, 12 months?
Typically, 6 months. Residential permit is 180 days, what it is by code. Commercial projects is a continuation from the last time an inspection has been performed out in the field.
Okay.
So, but we have expired permits from 2008 that have just never been closed out, and actually a majority of them has been expired in the last 3 years. So out of that almost 2,000 number, the majority of those have been since 19. But they go way back to the beginning of BSNA with the township in tracking those records. So
It was always for 6 months, or the permits, it was issued for 6 months, or?
typically a permit is issued for 180 days, 6 months,
100 days?
correct?
Okay, all right.
Anything else?
No, I just, it's just interesting, that's all.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move for Part A to accept the proposal received from Safe Built Michigan LLC for professional services associated with backup building inspections and plan review for the Independence Township Building Department as presented in the bid submitted by that company, and authorize the supervisor to sign the contract as the authorized representative of the township for this service.
A second.
Moved in second on Part A. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion on Part B?
Part B, I'll accept the proposal received from Carlisle Wortman for professional services associated with expired permit management for the Independence Township Building Department as presented in the bid submitted by that company, and authorize the supervisor to sign the contract as the authorized representative of the township for this service.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Any discussion from members of the public? Online? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, members of the board, appreciate it.
Thanks, Dick. Item number 7, request to adopt resolution number 2022-015, participation in Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund.
This was my addition to this packet, and what this is a program that was developed by the state of Michigan. They are using ARPA funds to fund this program, and the purpose of the program is to help homeowners pay for utilities. So for our purpose of the program, it will help homeowners pay for utilities if they can't afford their utility bill. Everything is approved through the state of Michigan. It does not run through the township, but for the township to participate in the program, we do have to have a board motion to approve that participation because the state pays us back through ACH funds. So we have to allow them to put the money back into our bank account that way. The program will run until it doesn't have any more money. And homeowners will, like I said, apply through the state. The state makes all the decisions. There are no decisions made here at the township. So we're probably more than an arm's length. But if the people meet the requirements, then that's great. And this is just something that can help our residents if they need a little help in this current market that's a little bit difficult to navigate sometimes.
Okay?
And just for clarification, it's just water and sewer, not their tax payments.
So they can receive tax payment. I wouldn't say tax payment help, but there is a foreclosure component to this program, but that is run through Oakland County. So if somebody needs that type of help, they have to go through the county treasurer for that.
Okay?
And the process for qualifications, to meet this qualification, will be through the state of Michigan.
Yes.
So nothing to do with the township.
No.
Okay. I think it
Any
will
other-
help a lot of people for sure.
Any other comments or questions? Anybody, any members of the public have a comment to offer? Anybody online? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-015 as presented, allowing Independence Township to participate as a utility provider in the Michigan Homeowners Assistance Fund and authorize the supervisor to execute the related contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we have amended item 8, which is the employee benefit subject. And I guess the question is, can we discuss this in open session without reference to Mr. Kelly's opinion? Because if we can, there's no need to disclose the opinion. And if we can't, we can make a motion to disclose the opinion, or reveal the opinion. What's the pleasure of the board? Paul?
And so I guess one of my first questions here is, given the content of what we're doing, are there any board members that would feel a need to recuse themselves for conflicts of interest?
Okay.
So hearing that there are none, I'm a little confused by that, because when we had the motion to change the opt-out payments for health insurance, we had a board member who did recuse themselves because a family member benefited from that, and it was for lesser amounts than what this is likely to be. And so if a board member's got an immediate family member who's gonna benefit from this, isn't that really the nature of asking for a recusal? And maybe I'm wrong, but it certainly occurred to me that would tend to be one of the reasons that a board member would want to recuse themselves.
I know you're referring to me, and I am not an employee of an IWA contract. I am an elected official, so I would not receive direct benefit from an IWA contract as an elected official. I was hired, or I was elected as an elected official, not as a union employee.
Right.
So no, I don't feel
But
that
you
I should
recused yourself
recuse.
because your husband was gonna receive the benefit. You recused yourself
But
from
we're
that
not
conversation.
discussing that.
We're discussing a benefit to an employee that's your husband.
Well, this was under closed session, this was not the item that we were discussing under closed session.
Anything else on this?
Apparently, no one's gonna recuse himself, so.
Okay. So I guess the question then is there anything, I mean, what we were talking about is pre-negotiation with IWA, pre-negotiation, moving forward to discuss with them the approval of some sort of additional pension benefit. And I don't think anybody on the board had made a determination whether we should or shouldn't do it, but it was, apparently there was a discussion about, or thought that we could consider it. And so we've looked like we have some numbers that Rick was kind enough to put together for us. The numbers are substantial. And so the question is, do we continue with this consideration, or do we wait for negotiations? And if we're waiting for negotiations, there's really nothing further to discuss, I assume, at this point.
One of the things that we said at the last meeting was how it affected our budget in total. And we talked about having numbers for the 3-year budget, since we do 3-year budget planning.
Yeah.
And I guess.
You have that here.
Well, we have what it costs, or what each person would get. But I guess what I'm getting at is, usually when you have a budget, there was two facets to this, I guess, that I talked about the last meeting. One is.
Do we need to make a motion to approve of discussing what we discussed in the closed session before we start doing that?
Well.
Because I think everyone's trying to be cautious about saying what we said in closed session because we were in closed session.
That's a good point. Good
Yeah,
point.
that's a good point. So I think, well, there's 2 questions. We really shouldn't discuss what we discussed in closed session 2 weeks ago.
No.
Now, we can make a motion, as the supervisor has pointed out, to release the opinion, or we can just have a discussion that's fresh today about you can use and rely upon the data that's been provided to you by the finance of the administration. That doesn't violate closed session.
Okay.
Right.
There we go.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is we're really not presenting that, though, so I guess I'm talking about something that nobody could see other than, what we saw. But I guess there was 2 facets of it. One is like, how much does it cost, and kind of like where's the money gonna come from? Obviously, it's coming from the tax dollars, but, what is it, how is it gonna affect our budget and our reserves, financial reserves for the different departments and stuff. And 2, I guess, we talked a little bit about equity of benefits and stuff, which, we've done in the past, and I'm not against that. I guess what I am against is, to me, we seem to be rushing this because, one, the contract that we have with the fire personnel union was negotiated. It took us a 1.5 years to get to that point, and they gave up major concessions to get what they got. So just to give the pluses to the employees without discussing them, it's like they're going to get all the pluses, but they're not giving up anything. So to me, that's part of what we talked about. If with the union, obviously, as a negotiation tool and that type of thing, but it's also just to hurry up and to make a move on it. There's not been any discussion on the give and take of that benefit as well.
So I guess the question I have is, seeing the magnitude of the numbers, is there a general sense that we should not act quickly and wait for negotiations?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so my problem's not necessarily with the size of the numbers, and it's with the fact that I've yet to see what the impact is to the fund balance. So for the layman, that means we're gonna write a check, but no one can tell me what the balance in the bank account's gonna be after we write the check over the next 3 years. That's, to me, I don't know how we move forward without that piece of information. That's my number one. Number 2, and again, I'm just gonna reference the publicly available information from the prior agenda, which I think made it pretty clear what the intention was. But one of my problems with this is it says we want to become equitable, but we haven't been equitable for a long, long time because the fire department had a defined benefit plan. And no one ever said, give us the defined benefit plan. So why, because we made this change for the fire department, that they negotiated and really they gave up a really big thing to get this, and it was a trade-off. I look at that as there's a certain amount of money that it would have cost to pay the defined benefit plan. They gave that up for new hires, and they get this instead. So, and we really don't yet know the ultimate cost of making that change. We think it's in the benefit, or the board wouldn't have done it. To just come out and do this now, and it's clearly it says we want to do this as a sign of good faith, but what we're talking about is probably on a 3-year contract would be more money as an increase in wages than all the wages for all 3 years added up. And to me, doing this prior to negotiations is taking the biggest carrot we might have and just saying, here's the carrot, and then we'll negotiate. And I never did it that way. So I kind of have an issue with doing it for that reason, because I think it's a very valuable thing to negotiate with them. But again, how do you do it without understanding what it's going to do to the fund balance? Because we don't know yet. And my third problem with this is we talk about this as a way to attract and retain great employees. I support that 100%. What I don't believe we have a problem with is attracting and retaining elected officials. And so I don't think the elected officials should be included in this thing to get this big increase, because that's just an elected position. And I would not include them in this. So that's my 2 cents.
So the latter part, it would be relevant if the board wanted to move forward with this.
Sure, I just thought I'd share it all at once and not have to jump back in later.
At this point, I mean, having seen these numbers, it seems to me that we can make this part of the negotiation process. And by that point in time, Rick will have more information on the budget for next year.
I think it's part of, one of the line items we need to put in the budget and, be part of the discussion of that as well, so.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if there's a consensus. I don't know if this really takes a motion to take any action, because it would take motion to act on this affirmatively, but we're not really doing anything other than finishing our discussion. So is there a sense on anybody's part that we should be acting on this in any affirmative way? Or should we just defer this to negotiations? And then we will be able to meet in closed session to discuss various kinds of implications as a collective bargaining. So I hear no action to take affirmatively, so I'm going to go to the next item on the agenda. And that would be item 9 is the police millage issue, but that would be something that we would come back to after closed session, I presume.
Sounds good.
So is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss confidential legal opinions pursuant to the Open Meetings Act section, I've got to reduce this a little bit, Open Meetings Act section MCL 15.268H and MCL 15.243 1G regarding police services, operating millage, and employee benefits. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Not employee benefits.
Pardon me.
Only police service operating millage.
I just kept reading. Sorry about that.
And to approve the possibility of acting in open session.
Yeah.
Well, can we approve in a closed session the possibility of that?
She said in the open session.
No, that's be
Just
part
said
of.
in open.
I would make that announcement here.
Oh, all right.
So is there?
I just didn't want people to think that we were going to, in closed session, approve doing something in the open
No.
session.
No. Can't do it. Is there a motion to go into closed session on the police
So
services?
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion by the board? Any discussion by members of the public on the board going into closed session? Anybody online? Hearing none, a roll call vote.
Treasurer Lockren.
Yes.
Trustee Aliaga.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Nalamothu. Yes. Trustee Ritchie.
Yes.
Supervisor Fisher.
Yes.
And Clerk Newbeck, yes. Motion carried.
Just for clarification, depending upon the nature of our discussions, we'll be back in any event to discuss communications, board member comments, and adjournment, but we may take action on this item that is now item number 9 on the regular agenda. So stay tuned if you'd like to to here.
So we announce the time we're going in closed session.
It's 9:05.
9:05?
9:25. Is there a motion to go back into open session?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're in open session. And we can go back to amended item 8, or actually amended item 9 on the agenda, resolution to approve, or request to approve resolution number 2022-014 to establish a police services millage. Anybody like to open the discussion, make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Charter Township of Independence Police Millage Resolution Number 2022-014, authorizing a tax levy of up to 2.8678 mils for a period of 3 years, beginning with the December 2023 levy, and authorize the township clerk to certify the resolution and submit the appropriate ballot language for inclusion on the November 8th, 2022 general election ballot as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
I think we should, maybe just for the public, give some background that the police millage is coming to an end. So we need to put it on the ballot to get a new millage established so we can maintain police services throughout the township.
And that the number that has been selected is based on the amount that had been approved in 2018 and had been reduced by Headley Amendment down to 2.79. And so this is like restoring the millage level in 2018. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Oh, yes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any board member comments?
About anything?
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Oh,
I want to remind everybody that tomorrow is the Clarkston Garden Walk, and it goes from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They've got some great gardens to go and see, 6 different locations, and you just need to go to the Clarkston Independence District Library. That's where it starts.
what time?
11 o'clock.
Go there at 11 o'clock.
That one runs from 11 to 7 p.m., so plenty of time to find it during the day. Go see it.
Okay. Anybody serving lunch?
Well, usually these are at homes, and there are refrigerators, so I mean, I don't know.
You just walk into their house, start eating.
Right. Thank you. Any other announcements? Any or board member comments?
I have a quick one.
Carrie.
Election is 2 weeks from today. Absentee ballots are due by 8 p.m. on August 2nd. We still have roughly, I look really quick, we have still 56% of the absentee ballots out, so make sure your ballot is turned in prior to 8 p.m. on Election Day.
And how many absentee ballots were issued? Do you have that number?
We have issued as of today 6,187 ballots.
So there's still 3,000 outstanding.
Correct.
And it's too late to get an absentee ballot, right?
No, you
No.
can still get an absentee ballot.
Okay, when does that end?
Last time you can get a ballot will be on Monday before 4 p.m.
Monday, 4
prior to the election, August 1st.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Move to
Second.
adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I didn't ask for public comment on that.
Hey, rule breaker.
Yeah.